Aye.
Dribble. Let me turn her off.
Aye. President Alston and board and KC and community, we have a presentation tonight as a part of this public hearing. As you will learn, there was a new House bill this last session, HB 2035, that talks about health and sex ed curriculum and new requirements, transparency, public hearings. And tonight to share more is our Chief Achievement Officer and Executive Director for Teaching and Learning, Thea Andrade, and Tony Camp, and that will be followed by the next item, which is a public hearing. And as of now, I believe we have at least one member of the community that wants to speak. With that, I will turn it over to you.
Good evening, President Alston, members of the board, Dr. Geston, and members of our community. We'll be presenting tonight the first of two public hearings on House Bill 2035, the sex ed course of study. House Bill 2035 really centers itself around parental rights associated with sex education curriculum. I'm not going to read all the votes to you, but really thinking about it, number one of the big tenets of it is it requires parents to opt in or opt out of any sex ed curriculum. And I want to be clear, in the past, parents have always had the right to opt out, but this is pretty explicit and they must circle one, opt in or opt out. Second major component of it is it allows parents the opportunity to participate, to review, and provide feedback in a meaningful way to any sex ed curriculum, any modifications or changes to the curriculum prior to the board adopting it. And that ample notice is given to our parents. So tonight we're going to walk you through briefly the procedures that PXU has built into as part of our system to ensure compliance with House Bill 2035 and provide you a brief overview of just really what it looks like in PXU. And to do that, I would like to introduce the Executive Director for Teaching and Learning, Mr. Tony Camp.
Thank you, Ms. Andrade. Good evening, Madam President Alston, board members, Dr. Geston, and the community. As Ms. Andrade just mentioned in the overview, each school district is required to have any sex education course of study readily available for parents, so they can provide input to the adoption process for the House bill and revised statute. When this House bill first went into effect with this requirement, our curriculum division worked collaboratively with our marketing department to ensure that our entire health curriculum, including parts of Unit 7 and Unit 8, parts of Unit 7 and mainly Unit 8 in that course of study was publicly available on our website. You can see on this image on the right a screenshot of our website where this information has been publicly posted since June 1st. We also ensure that other upper level courses that students have the option to take are listed as well. A couple of those examples are anatomy and physiology, as well as an IB biology course. As required, we also have these materials available hard copy in a binder located at the district office in the curriculum department. The The revisions to the House bill also require all districts to publicly announce when any curriculum revision teams gather to review and revise any items to the sex education course of study. After this process of public hearing, presentation, and feedback is completed, and if any revisions need to take place moving forward, Phoenix Union will publicly announce the gathering of the curriculum revision team 2 weeks in advance, per the House bill. Parents will be invited to participate with the revision team for input and feedback prior to bringing any changes to the public and to the board again for approval. Part of the revisions to the House bill also require that this process be open to the public. So now, what does this also mean for parents' rights regarding their student participation in sex education? As stated earlier by Ms. Andrade, our main course of study for sex ed is a small part of that unit 7 and 8 in our health class, and it happens to be the second to the last unit in that course. As with all of our classes in Phoenix Union, teachers provide a plan for student success at the beginning of each course. This course syllabus outlines unit standards, expectations, grading practices, as well as contact information for the parents and students to contact the teacher. Since the beginning of this school year, we have also included, as Ms. Andrade stated earlier, the opt-in or opt-out parental permission form, as you see here on the screen, for that sex education unit. This form clearly identifies all of the topics related to sexual health and education that are a part of the health course. This process also provides information on how to access the curriculum for students and parents. Now, of course, if parents choose to opt out their student for that particular units of study, the teachers provide a reasonable and alternative assignment for students so they are not penalized for choosing to not participate in that particular section of the course. Oops. And so to wrap up this brief overview of the new requirements of House Bill as it relates to sex education curriculum, again, another reminder that our entire curriculum is available on our website and hard copy at our district office. We will return at the next governing board meeting in December for a second public hearing related to these requirements and elicit feedback and input from the public as well. We will continue to require parents to sign off either approving or opting out their student, and we will ensure that this governing board and our district is in compliance with all requirements outlined in the House bill. This includes notifying the public if we make any future revisions to the course of study, as well as providing the parents the opportunity to participate. Now, at this time, we are able to take any questions that the board may have, followed by the opportunity for public feedback and input.
Due to ongoing precautions, a link was provided to the public for individuals to pre-register. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. To share comments for the public hearing. This link remained open through the conclusion of the presentation. We'll take a question from Mr. Gallardo now.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess my question, I know where they're going with it. I'm not silly here. I understand it. My argument is this is burdensome and unnecessary, but nonetheless, the legislature passed it, and we have an obligation to fulfill all pieces of legislation that is passed. But I guess my question goes back to our current practices. Has there ever been a time where parents have been excluded from the process that we've had in the past, or been able to even provide input? Have we blocked out parents from being engaged in this particular area of curriculum?
President Alston, Member Gallardo, no. Parents have been welcome. As I said earlier, they've always been able to opt out if they felt that it was inappropriate for their child for whatever reason, without penalty, and have always been open to public comment or review of the sex ed curriculum.
Thank you. And Madam President, I'll just go ahead and say, one, thank you for the work and having to put in to try to comply with state statute. I don't agree with the statute. I think you kind of leave it to Beaver back in the 50s type policies. But nonetheless, those are my opinions. Nonetheless, we have to comply, and I appreciate the work that you have done. I do believe and will always support accurate and factual information when it comes to sex education. I don't think we should be hiding information, but nonetheless, I understand what the legislature is attempting to do, and we will do what we can to comply. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there any other board members who wish to speak or ask a question at this time? Okay, there is one person who has requested to speak, Ms. Ashley Bragg. And you will have 2 minutes. Is Ms. Bragg here?
I just wanted to speak as far as my but I also am employed the last point whether or not I think it's great that the legislation passes.
Ms. Bragg, can you hold on a minute? We're having some volume difficulties here, and I think that we really want to hear what you have to say, and let's see where we are when we think we're okay to start over.
Okay. Yes.
If you could please, if you're on a car headset, if you could please switch it to your phone so that we may hear you better. Thank you.
Is this better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, Ms. Bragg.
No problem. I just wanted to point out that some of our parents need the education because a lot of our students, and this is just from my personal experience and what I've observed working for the district, a lot of our students are acting out of what they see. So I think with us providing the education or allowing the education to be accessible to our parents, it'll kind of give them a representation, not only at school, but at home. And then I also wanted to speak to the fact of like adverse childhood experiences. A lot of our students are, encountering different sexual activities at a very, very young age. And so educating them on these things and also making our parents knowledgeable of some of these things would not only assist us here within the district, but also assist our students so that they are prepared for what not only life has to offer, but so that they are knowledgeable to make, better decisions. And that's kind of my piece. Like, I just think that making them knowledgeable of these things is highly important because I think it does go unnoticed and some of our students aren't really taking it serious. So it was definitely a must. So thank you.
And thank you. Is there any other are there any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing and is there a second?
So moved.
Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Pastor and seconded by Mr. Prescott on the motion. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries and the public hearing is adjourned. The regular meeting is called to order. Will the secretary please note that all board members are present and the Pledge of Allegiance, we will stand as as Ms. Pastor leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing while a moment of silence has been observed.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 2A, recognitions and accomplishments. Tonight, we will honor an exceptional educator, a community leader, and the voters of Phoenix. Ms. Para, will you read the first celebration?
President, do you mind if we go back one and do 1D, approval of minutes, and then we'll jump to 2A?
I'm sorry, I did this last month too. 2 pages stuck together. Thanks for watching out for me,
No
Dr.
problem.
Keston. I really appreciate
No
that.
problem.
Approval, the first item on the agenda is 1D, approval of minutes of the special meeting, executive session, the second public hearing on the instructional time model, the special meeting of the governing board held on September 18th, 2021, the special meeting, executive session, and the regular meeting held on October 13th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented, and is there a second? Motion has been made.
Second.
by Ms. Pastor, seconded by Ms. Para. Is there any discussion? On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, please indicate by saying nay, and the motion carries. Thank you, Dr. G. The next item on the agenda is 2A, recognition and accomplishments. Once again, tonight we will honor an exceptional educator, a community leader, and the voters of Phoenix. Ms. Para, will you please
Yes,
start
of
us off
course.
with our
Thank you,
first
Madam Chair.
celebration?
Thank you so much. Tonight, we are recognizing Miss Therese Arvizu. Miss Therese Arvizu, please come up. She was recently honored with the Arizona High School Teacher of Excellence Award from the Arizona English Teachers Association. The award recognizes Arizona educators who demonstrate exceptional teaching and leadership, cultivate authentic learning opportunities, and develop genuine student relationships. Ms. Arvizu has taught English at North High School since 2008. Therese is a Chicana indígena from the borderlands of Douglas, Arizona. She is part of the Coapolu Nahuacalco familia and community here in the Phoenix area. Ms. Arvizu received her undergraduate degree from Arizona State University and worked 10 years in the nonprofit organization Chicanos por la Causa. She's earned her MA in education and began teaching in the district. Ms. Arvizu has a teenage daughter, please say it.
Mia Watsin.
Mia Watsin, who is the same age as the students she teaches and is part of a blended family and feels she brings to the classroom the understanding of family dynamics, which her students may also be experiencing. Her principal credits Ms. Arvizu with instrumental in bringing culturally relevant curriculum and instruction to North High School and throughout the district. Congratulations. Thank you so much for bringing your talents to Phoenix Union and being here for so long. Congratulations.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, Tlaxcomati, thank you to my parents who gave me a strong sense of identity and who I am and the space to grow as an individual who feels like that can make a difference in my world and those around me. And so that foundation in life kind of helped me with my work ethic. And want to also thank all the teachers that I've worked with, especially here, not just within our district, but it started a lot with the Metro sponsors coming together and it didn't start with us, but a conversation, continued there. I think it's been talked about for the last 50 years. And so a lot of the Metro sponsors, the CRPI group that kind of helped to move things forward, of course, to the students who were the inspiration, because in the classroom, that's why I started teaching at North High School, because I love that community. I have worked in that community for 10 years prior. And when I came to Phoenix, that's where my sister was working. And it's like the heart, the energy that is in that area. And so looking out into my classroom and looking around the classroom, students who look like me. And I feel that they kind of felt that when they see me, they see a little bit of themselves. And I feel like that's important also to be reflected in what they're reading in the classroom, in the curriculum, not just in English, but I feel that it's something that should be spread throughout the different aspects of our curricula. And so I also want to say, Tla Sukamati, thank you for the opportunity to allow me to be here tonight to say a few words. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Madam Chair, just. Thank you. Madam Chair, just one quick comment. You mentioned, I just want to say it is easy to recognize why you have been honored, your passion and your commitment to your students. But I just want to say, like, your sense of confidence and pride in who you are, you can see that just in the brief comments that you made. And I'm just so grateful that you are sharing that with your students, because you're giving them a sense of pride in themselves as well. So thank you, and really grateful that you have chosen to stay and work in Phoenix Union. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, Francisco Avalos from Lyft. Is he here with us today? Hello, sir. As Phoenix Union continues to lead the COVID-19 vaccination effort in our community, many individuals have provided vital support. One of those individuals is Francisco Avalos from Lyft. When Phoenix Union began its partnership with Maricopa County Department of Public Health, Lyft was one of the first businesses to step up. Since then, Lyft has provided access to free transportation to our staff, students, families, and broader community. Their service has ensured equity of access to the vaccine for those living in our footprint. Francisco and Lyft have provided more than free rides. They've provided hope and saved lives. Please join us as we thank Francisco Avalos and the Lyft organization for providing free transportation for our families to get the vaccine.
Just thank you for allowing us to be part of you guys' incredible work. This board's mission-driven, values-grounded, decision-making has been through and through for decades, and it's most noticeable to me in my adulthood and now the, 15 years, 20 years out of high school, and I can appreciate it so much more. So thank you for what you guys are doing for our kids. Thank you for allowing us to be part of this, and I hope in 2022 we can have conversations about how we can get babies to other places using and leveraging Lyft as transportation. So thank you.
And President, really quickly. Francisco, I just want to say thank you too, just so that everyone knows. Francisco's he's a Phoenician and ASU Sun Devil, father of 3, and Lyft has a really amazing mission. And I think what's fantastic about the work of Francisco is we didn't even have to ask. And he said, here's your vouchers through August. And before August ended, he's like, would you like more? And we haven't had to ask once for more support. And as the board knows, we told a heartbreaking, heartwarming story last year about helping a mother get to the hospital. We've had people at the airport with vaccine emergencies, where we've been able to take Lyft to the airport. And so truly, Francisco's work has saved lives, and we're so grateful for the partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam President, just real quickly, hey, I want to, it's not only just rides. It's not only just rides. We have a number of events in my district. We do the annual shoe giveaway. We give 1,000 pairs of shoes, and it is Lyft employees that come out and help volunteer. We do our water days. It's Lyft employees that come out and volunteer. So it's not just the rides, which are greatly appreciated. It's the hours of community service that your employees provide on various levels. So that I appreciate as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. District overrides provide critical funding for our schools. Without override funds, our schools could not provide robust programs, manageable class sizes, and free sports and extracurricular programs. On Tuesday, we all watched together as the PXU maintenance and operations, as well as the district additional override assistance override results came in. Thank you to our PXU voters for approving both overrides for our students. Both overrides are passing with 60% approval. The support we receive from the Phoenix Union community is a testament to the hard work and dedication of all 4,000 staff that call PXU home. These funds will continue to provide opportunities and pathways for our students to go places and do things that matter. We also want to thank those individuals who served on the Yes for Phoenix Union committee for their hard work and dedication. Thank you to everyone.
Dr. Gesson?
No, I just want to echo, the running a citywide campaign, 220 square miles. It takes a lot of work behind the scenes from the committee. So I want to first thank the board for approving this and knowing how important it is to go early, just in case. And then our team was really excited that 60-40. Of course, we'd love to see 70-30, 80-20, but especially with all of the, unfortunately, bonds and overrides that failed across the state, to know that our local taxpayers trust the work that we're doing meant a lot to us.
And Madam President, I think I'm speaking too much now already. We've only been here like 10 minutes, but nonetheless, I want to point this out, and Dr. G just hit it right on the head. The fact that we have so many of our constituency, our voters, that have so much confidence and trust and really believe in the mission that we're doing and all the work we're doing to provide that quality education for all students. It says volumes when voters come out to the numbers that they did to be able to support once again continuing this override and special assistance fund really speaks volumes. So I just want to point that out. And I also want to point out, I'd be a bad county supervisor if I didn't point this out. This election was safe, secure, and accurate. I win. I'm an early voter, but this is the one time I went to a polling site. I wanted to see firsthand, and I couldn't be more impressed with the number of volunteers that come out and they work the polls, they work behind the scenes, they do everything they can to ensure that voters have access to be able to exercise the most fundamental right they have, the right to vote. And so to all the volunteers out there that worked on election day, thank you so much. And definitely our campaign committee that represented Phoenix Union, all the work they did. And I know a lot of you all were very, very involved in that campaign, and just thank you. I think we did a great job.
Okay, thank you so much. The next item is 3A, reports from student government. Tonight, we have student government representatives from the academies at South Mountain, and I think that young person is not here quite yet, and so we'll put that toward the end. Trevor Brown High School and the Phoenix Coding Academy. Our student government representatives this evening will highlight their schools in this order. Alan Cervantes from Trevor Brown will be first this evening.
Good evening, Dr. Justin, ladies and gentlemen of the governing board, staff, community members of Phoenix Union. My name is Alan Cervantes, and I am the student body president at Trevor G. Brown High School. We had an amazing first quarter. We currently have over 2,800 students enrolled at TGB. Our freshman house has been holding activities and competitions during our advisory to keep our freshman students hoped and inspired to stay at TGB. We had a club rush during both our lunch periods in the gym that showcased our clubs and sport teams that students can be involved in. We are currently using Facebook and Instagram to highlight a fall athlete during our senior spotlights. Our fall sports are winding down and coming to an end, but not before some amazing success. Our chess team won the region title and claimed a spot in the state tournament. Our badminton team took 6 girls to the state playoffs. Our boys golf team took players to the golf state team. Our football team is currently 6-2, and we have a big game this week. Also, this week is homecoming as well as senior night. October was a crazy month. Even though we had a week off, Mecha celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month and celebrated and put together an amazing Dia de Muertos celebration in this week. Winter sports are starting to get organized and get cleared with the new protocols in place. TGB's quarterback, Alex Rivera, received the Ed Horty Sports Award. TGB is excited to share that our current freshman house is transitioning into a freshman academy in the fall of 2022. This is a year of planning academies as we work together to gather input from staff, students, families, district leaders, and Phoenix Chamber of Commerce to establish future college and career academies to open in the fall of 2023. This Saturday, TGB will be hosting an expo on site to help highlight programs and classes that TGB has to offer to incoming freshmen looking for a high school to call home. We will have performances and clubs and class tables in the quad to showcase TGB. We are currently creating food boxes for the families in need for the holidays. We have our own TGB angel tree for students that may need Christmas presents to spread the joy this holiday season. We started a Hispanic mother-daughter program on the 17th of November, we will be holding an elective fair in the gym during the lunches to showcase the elective classes that TGB has to offer to 8th graders. As you can see, TGB is running off and not slowing down for the 2021-22 school year. Only one of the many reasons why I call TGB home. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And our next speaker is Olive Gaston from the Phoenix Coding Academy. Olive, welcome, and please provide your report.
Hi. Okay, so hello, board, President Alston and Dr. Gaston. My name is Olivia Gaston, and I'm the vice president at Phoenix Coding Academy. I'm a senior, and so far we've had 4 major things taking place at Phoenix Coding Academy. The first being our Club Rush, which has helped us gain the most amount of student members that we've ever had at Coding Academy. So that's always a plus. Having more members means more input, so that we can put on more activities, more help for things like this. We have very minimal clubs, but there are definitely more than previous years. So yeah. Okay, and then one of the other things we did was our Spirit Weeks. We've had 2 so far, one being just like a regular one, the other one being Halloween themed. It's always a big hit. Everyone loves Spirit Weeks. There's a lot of student and staff participation. In the corner, you can see everyone from, well, a bunch of people from all different grades in their Spirit Week attire. And students are always allowed to, to express their artistic abilities, making the posters for themselves and their peers. Okay, and then the third thing was our first outdoor school dance called the Dead Man's Disco. It was definitely the best dance we've ever had, with more than 1/3 of our school population attending. We had a photo booth, which is always a huge success, concessions, the dance floor, and of course our security guard as our DJ. Always amazing as per usual with their display. And yeah, it was just a great success with a whole bunch of staff support and no bad reviews. So yeah. And then the last thing would be our meetup competitions. We carried on the tradition of doing door decorations, which everyone always loves. Every single teacher participated and decorated their door this year. And of course, my meetup won because we're awesome. And yeah, it's just been a great year so far for Coding Academy. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Has our student from South Mountain, the academies at South, arrived?
No, not President Alston, not yet. But if and when she arrives, we'll let you know. And actually, South has a great report, 12 slides, and I had a chance to look at it today too. So hopefully she'll be able to make it.
Okay, thank you so very much. The next item is 3B, reports from employee organizations. Tonight, we will begin with CPA Dr. April Coleman.
Good evening, President Austin, Governing Board members, Dr. Gaston, and the entire executive team. Tonight, you are asked to approve 2 certified job descriptions, and I'm happy to report that they are both aligned. They will help us move forward in terms of what we do for certified employees and also in terms of how we create safe and supportive learning environments for our students and safe and supporting teaching environments for the rest of us. So that is all that I have to report. Thank you so much to the executive team for working with us and for getting a job description that we know will help us move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Vanessa Jimenez, CEA. Hi, Vanessa.
Good evening. Hello. Thank you. Good evening, President Alston, board members, leadership, and of course, Phoenix Union community. Just a few things. It's November, which means ESP Day is 9 days away. Want to make sure we keep that on the maps. I think everyone knows it's been pretty challenging for all of our ESPs in every single department. I know our safety teams have been struggling and bubbling to the top, but all of our teams have been working really hard in trying to take every challenge as a small bump instead of a hurdle. So I appreciate all of that work. So I just want to challenge all of you to get out on the 17th to your favorite campus, pick your favorite ESP group, which is going to be so hard, but get out and help us celebrate on the 17th, all of our ESPs. Another thing I wanted to circle back on is our PLC groups. This past week, we have really taken a deeper dive, and if I can. So we've taken a really deep dive into the micro-credential of cultural competence. So I just wanted to give you an actual object. I don't do slides because they go away when we leave tonight. So at least you have this in hand to see the work that we're actually doing. And so just looking at that growth continuum and just how we're going from understanding to use and then use and leadership. So it's important work that we're doing. And all I can say is the conversations have been rich. Creating that safe space with their peers to speak through cultural competence has just been, it's eye-opening to me, 26 years in the district, and I'm still learning from my peers. So on that first 1B is that first part. And then when you flip it over, their homework, we brainstormed action steps. So how do you go from these skill areas and ideas and brainstorming to putting them into action? And so their challenge was to brainstorm some action steps, work on them, or see if a peer or a colleague is using those action steps, and then to come back this next week and really discuss them and start deciding what their action steps are going to be when they submit their micro-credential. So it's just been huge. I didn't think it was gonna turn out like this. I have shed a few tears just saying, because when you get into a safe space and give people that opportunity to talk, it's huge. And I can't say anything else. And then lastly, we're just working hard with all of the different teams. Like I said, there's challenges, but the collaboration has just been great. One of our biggest ones is we're grateful to have the COVID leave, the paid COVID leave, but for some of our employees, they don't have leave in their banks. So what's been happening is they've been losing pay. And so that wasn't the intent. We thought it was a great idea, but the collaboration of trying to make sure that nobody loses pay, because we've asked them to go home and be safe, has been great. We're working on figuring out how do we make sure nobody is short on a check. As you know, it's not our highest paid wage earners, so missing money on a check is it just can't happen. So really working on that with leadership. We didn't think about it. If you're a new employee, you don't have time in your bank. So getting the time back later, I need it now. So really working on that has been huge. And then also working towards getting more training out to the staff. Peer-to-peer has been great, working with the different departments. looking at those I-Days and how they will help not just the students but help even the ESPs to get the training done that we don't have any other time to do it. So a lot is going on, but still ESP Day is what it's all about in November. So thank you, President Alston and community.
Thank you so very much. Dr. Keith Brazier, Admin Association.
Good evening, President Alston, Governing Board members, Superintendent Dr. Geston, leadership team, and community. ADA would like to highlight commitment to quality seats for all students. It reads, guarantee quality seats in every classroom that drive high levels of student achievement for all students, no exceptions. We have some slides here from Carl Hayden and Linda Brill. Carl Hayden slides, you'll see counselors rolled up their sleeves early and dived into promoting Freshman House with partner schools, inviting all 8th graders to register early at the November 6th Expo. Teachers and administrators from Paradise Valley School District visited to learn about quality co-teaching teams and the impact on student learning. The dynamic duo comprised of Jesse Hoover and Miguel Ontiveros was identified as a quality co-teaching team and great ambassadors as they showcase what quality seats look like in a math co-teaching environment. Carl Hayden wants it to be known they're putting everybody on notice. They have the best meta network team in PXU. They are working hard to increase the number of seniors completing FAFSA and college applications. Also in this slide, you will see some pics from Linda Brill Academy, and we see technology in the classroom, a student music performance, and a student field trip to Phoenix College. Thank you all.
Thank you so very much. The next item on the agenda is for a call to the public. Due to ongoing COVID-19 precautions, a link was provided to the public for individuals wishing to speak to the governing board. We have 2 requests to speak. Presenters are limited to 2 minutes. I would like to caution our callers about commenting on a particular individual and thank you for not referring to any person by name. Our first speaker tonight is George Bingham II. Mr. Bingham, please provide your comments.
Mr. Bingham, if you're there, you can begin speaking. President, we can go to the next one and try after.
I think maybe he's not there. He is there? Mr. Bingham, are you ready to go?
No, President, we can move to the next speaker.
Okay. We'll see if he's there later. Our next caller is Jennifer May. Miss May, you may address the governing board. And we'll start the time once you begin to speak.
Teacher at Metro Tech High School. I've been a teacher there for 6 years. And recently an incident happened on our campus that escalated very quickly, and our lead security officer was put into a major situation. This situation had him using force to remove a trespasser who was trying to gain access onto our campus after being told to leave and then physically assaulting our officer. Although the situation was not ideal, the majority of our staff students at Metro Tech feel this officer did what was necessary to protect our students, our staff, and our school. I've been told Metro Tech is one of the safest campuses at Phoenix Union, and I do believe this. And this is largely because of this person and the system he has in place with his entire team. This person is an incredible security officer. We support him 1,000,000% and would like to request a proper investigation, including speaking to the people he protects every single day at Metro Tech. We're hearing rumors that this officer may be let go because of this, and that is unbelievable, unacceptable, and sad. This officer is amazing. How can you take the side of someone who is up to no good? How could you take the side and protect the wrong person? If this is to stay out of the media or do what you think is best for Phoenix Union, then this is not who we are. This is not who Metro Tech is. We cannot dismiss this person, and he needs the support of our community, he needs the support of our staff, and he needs the support of our districts. We do not support losing one of our most valuable staff members. We believe he was just doing his job. Our school is safe because of our security and those who work to protect us. I think he did what was needed to be done in that moment, and I stand to support him. I would actually like to thank him for doing what was needed on that day, and who knows what this person's intentions were and what could have happened if he had entered our campus.
Thank you, Ms. May. Is Mr. Bingham available now?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Bingham, we're glad you're here. Please proceed.
Well, my name is George Bingham. I've lived in the high school district my entire life, and this is my first opportunity. Am I muted now?
Could you speak up a little louder, Mr. Bingham? We're having trouble hearing you.
Okay, mute.
We've started over. Let's go.
Mr. Bingham, sir, I think you accidentally remuted yourself. If you can hit your mute button again, we'll give you 2 minutes.
How's that?
Okay, let's go.
This is the first Phoenix Union board meeting that I've ever attended. I'm embarrassed to say that. I've been a part of this community for 40 years. I'm also giving consideration of running for the school board. My background is I'm a clinical pharmacist and a CPA. One of the questions that I had was, and again, this is just because I'm so new to this. What is your current policy regarding vaccination and mask wearing at the school level?
Mr. Bingham, we're not allowed to respond. You have your 2 minutes to speak, so please continue.
Okay, well, that's really all. Those were the only questions I had.
Okay, thank you so very much. Dr. Gaston.
President Alston, members of the board and community, sir, anytime you want, you can go to pxu.org. On our website, you'll find a couple of things. One, you'll find a link to all of our policies. And then the second thing you'll find, if you want to go to a specific page on our website, pxu.org/behealthy. And on that portion of our website, you can find everything that we are doing regarding masks, vaccines, and mitigation strategies on our campus. Again, pxu.org/behealthy.
Oh, okay, that concludes the call to the public. The next item is 5A, approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented, and is there a second?
So moved.
Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Pastor and seconded by Mr. Prescott. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. The next item is 6A, the superintendent's report. Dr. Gaston, please provide your report at this time.
All right, good evening, President, also members of the board. I have a brief report again. I I did want to start by pointing out my daughter presented tonight. She's a senior at Coding Academy, and as I was listening to her speak, I was reminded of a book I was given many years ago about raising a daughter, and being told that when young women are bossy, when young girls are bossy, they're called bossy, not a leader. My daughter was accused many times by many people of being bossy, and because of that book, I said, "No, you're a leader," and continue to lean in. Women are judged differently, and raising a daughter, watching her tonight was just a reminder that how proud I am, but most importantly, how we should lean into to the young women who want to lead and understand the biases that exist around female leadership in our country, and unfortunately, I think even here locally. So here in Phoenix Union, want to share just a couple of things. We'll get my clicker. First of all, on the consent agenda tonight was the approval of Mr. Brian Fair. Brian Fair is now the principal at the academies at South Mountain, made a couple of other leadership changes there as well. Mr. Brian Fair is a longtime South Phoenix resident and alumni of South Mountain. Many of you know his story. He was a star athlete, went to UConn on a full ride basketball scholarship, even played professional basketball overseas, and has been back as a teacher, a dean of students, and been a longtime assistant principal. And we're very excited to have Mr. Brian Fair at the helm at the academies at South Mountain. It's also Native American Heritage Month. In fact, later this evening, here in a moment, you're going to have a presentation on our Native American education program. Made great strides in that area. Certainly want to continue to grow and expand, but are very proud of the programming that we have. And in fact, recently, 4 of our employees received recognitions, and just want to highlight them really quickly. As you can tell, Kelsey Franklin from Betty Fairfax High School, Maria Anaya at Betty Fairfax as well, Alfred Yazi at Central High School, and Miss Karen Cardenas, who will present here in a moment as well, received educator awards recently. It's also National School Psychology Week. Phoenix Union's worked very hard to provide wraparound services. We have about 15 psychologists in Phoenix Union. The truth is, during these challenging times, we could probably use 30 or 40, but we're continuing to support our psychologists and are very grateful for the work that they are doing. It's also Education Week coming up soon, just a chance for our nation to celebrate the importance of high quality public education, administrators, certified staff, and education support professionals. And as you heard from Ms. Jimenez, November 17th is our National Education Support Professionals Day. I see Ms. Jimenez over there. Certainly encourage you to, as you said, reach out to ESPs. You're not supposed to have favorites, but you talked about favorites, Ms. Jimenez. But reach out, as you know, this is it's been an extremely challenging year. It's been a challenging year for employees at all and all job titles, and certainly for our education support professionals. And so thank you to each and every one of them. Just in case you don't know the numbers, we have about 1,400 education support professionals in Phoenix Union. We also had great news this month, a visit from Tennessee State University to our schools in South Phoenix. And actually during their visits, meeting with our students, gave out several full ride scholarships across all of South Phoenix, over 20 full ride scholarships, 14 at Betty Fairfax High School alone. And so they are hoping to cohort a group of students to send to Tennessee to have better retention rates as well. I know that our Phoenix Union Black Alliance has worked really hard on that partnership, and are really excited to see how many of those students matriculate to Tennessee State University. And again, thank you to our Black Alliance sponsors for their efforts. We tried something new in Phoenix Union a couple of weeks ago, an I-Day. It was a day where we had an opportunity for students and staff to engage remotely, their option to stay home. We did open campuses for families and students that needed a place to go during the day. And it was also an opportunity for staff to catch up a little bit. We called it an I-Day. Board will probably remember a report that play on 2 words. One, I as in like iPhone, it's a remote day. but also it's a day for me, a day to catch up, a day to reflect in this really busy, stressful year. It's kind of a way to take a deep breath. But as you saw, many of our students also took advantage of coming in. You see pictures of arts classes and clubs, a student in a welding class, but you also see a picture on the bottom left where teachers engaged in learning and planning as well. We have our second attempt at an I-Day on November 12th, and then we have another one in December, and we'll work with all of our association leadership to really determine the future of I-Days, and is this something that we do second semester and even potentially into second semester and even to next year. And speaking of next year, we had a chance to kind of unpack the I-Day and led us into a broader discussion about, COVID has been really tough on students and families, but we also learned a lot. And there's some good that we learned throughout COVID, how to blend learning, how to use technology, just like the I-Day, an opportunity to kind of rethink what remote learning can look like. We've also had 3 different bell schedules over the last year. We had a 6-period bell schedule, a 3-period bell schedule, and now a block bell schedule. And so as you see up here, we will begin to really engage our community on what's the future of teaching and learning in Phoenix Union. Should we use I-Days in the future, in person versus online? How many classes per day is most effective for a student, block or no block? How long should a period be? And we're actually working on surveys for staff, students, and community so that when we come to the table with leadership, we can be better informed about the future of teaching and learning. And then teaching and learning is not possible without amazing employees. Our job fair, our annual fall/winter job fair is on Saturday, November 13th. And we're excited because we are very specifically targeting and recruiting not just certified staff, but our education support professionals. So you see that we've broken our job fair up into 2 sections, certified and classified, and encourage any board to come watch that in action. And just a couple more things to share. Board, many of you may recognize this image. The Auditor General comes out, the Attorney General comes out every year, Auditor General comes out every year with expenditures for school systems. Many of you remember this. This is a copy of ours last year. I think a couple of things that we want to note. Number one, Phoenix Union has been on par with the state over the last few years, and is trying to do our best to put as much money in the classroom. But we've also learned that all the extra support matters: technology, food services. We talk about education support professionals. Many of those don't count as in-classroom dollars, even though they're critically important. And so it just was a reminder that when this report comes out, it's coming out in February or March, that I think it's important for us to advocate that not every dollar actually goes into the classroom, because there's a lot of work that happens to make sure that kids are supportive. And then the second thing we wanted to point out that earlier this year, the governing board with executive team approved to pay off a lot of our post-retirement benefits. We had a long-term liability. It was a really, really important financial move for Phoenix Union. But what we also know is if you look at the administrative cost up there, we spend around 10%. Charter school average across the state is about 18%. So Phoenix Union is right with the district average, still below charter school. But that number, post-retirement benefits are actually considered administrative costs. So even though we paid it off and it's going to be a great thing, we are going to experience a spike in administrative costs this year. That number could jump up to 13, 14, even 15% for 1 year. It'll go all the way back down to probably 9% the next year. But I'm going to bring this up a couple times in the community so that when the report comes out in February and March and we see this number go up, it's because Phoenix Union made a very wise decision to pay off post-retirement, but unfortunately that's charged to the admin line. But Phoenix Union is in a much better place moving forward because of that decision. And just wanted to thank everyone down that list: classrooms, paraprofessionals, counselors, social workers, plant operations. That's a lot of our facilities people, DSF, and just really proud of the work of all of our employees. And then finally, just an expo, and then you'll get a chance to see a video. This Saturday is our expo. We're going to have a chance to do some online activities, but also visit our schools. Would encourage governing board to visit. You see November 6th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. A chance for us to showcase schools. Families can visit multiple schools, of course, publish videos online. We've been recruiting, and just a quick highlight of Expo through a video.
Future high schoolers, get ready for your next adventure at Phoenix Union, where we offer a diverse portfolio of programs that prepare students for college, career, and life. At PXU, you can fly a plane, build a robot, or start your journey to become a firefighter, chef, fashion designer, cybersecurity agent, or another career pathway of your choice. Join us for our 2021 Expo on November 6th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at any of our high schools. For more information on our school locations, visit pxu.org/expo.
President, that concludes my report.
Ms. Para?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Geston, you on the slide about our spending and the Auditor General's report, one thing that we want to start doing at All in Education is addressing the social determinants of education. We believe that there are things that we have to be mindful of, especially for our Title I schools and predominantly low-income communities. And so I would love to talk about, collaborate with on building awareness about what it takes to educate our community and all of the resources and investments that we have to make to provide wraparound support to our students and their families, and ultimately how, we tie that back to educational attainment. So just would love to have a deeper conversation with you or someone on the team about how we can do that, because I think we have to raise public awareness beyond these reports that come out to, ultimately to critique how we invest in our school community. And so just want to put that out there.
President Alston and Board Member Parra, we're happy to engage. I've had SB put this back up. I think we learned in the pandemic more than ever the importance of the support that happens outside of the classroom. We know, first of all, that the one way to improve teaching and learning is high quality teaching in the classroom. So we know that 52% that goes straight to teachers is ultimately what drives high levels of achievement. And yet we also know, especially in Title I schools, that everything else matters. When school closed, when we went to close, not close last year, thank God we have technology support. Thank God we have buses. Thank God we provide food services. What a great opportunity for us to provide wraparound. We're critiqued. That's considered overhead. Schools are blamed for not putting money in classrooms. And yet when we go back to and think about what we relied upon during the pandemic, it was high quality virtual teaching and everything else that wasn't counted as in classroom instruction. And so I think, especially for us, we'd love to engage, but I think it's about public messaging that what I've told people is it takes 50 cents on the dollar to make sure students are in class ready to learn, right? It's not a waste of money. It actually takes 50 cents of every dollar to make sure they're fed, transported, supported, clothed, and ready to go and be in a classroom. The lights on, the fields clean, sanitized. And so I agree, we need to shift that conversation.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up. I'll be speaking on a panel with Greater Phoenix Economic Council about this issue and how we meet the needs of Title I schools. I think, again, I think it is about building public awareness. It is about educating the community about what it takes. So just want to collaborate and know that my door is open for that. So appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Gallardo.
Thank you, Madam President, and I couldn't agree more with the conversation right now with Stephanie and Dr. G. I think our students face tremendous challenges economically and socially. I always tell this story because I think it's a situation that happens across the entire district, where you find students that are in tough situations at home. We had one Carl Hayden student not too long ago who come to find out, living with his single mom and two other younger siblings, they had no running water, no electricity in the house. And that had been going on for 4 months. And it just happened to me and that student met on a different situation. And just talking to him, I come to find out the living arrangements that he had. And so it's stuff like that. Yeah, we want to make sure they're fed. We want to make sure they're clothes and they have transportation. But our kids, a lot of them face so many different challenges that are unbelievable. And I think whatever we can do to partner up, let it be with a nonprofit or a city or county, I think it's important for us to continue to look at those avenues and see what we can do to help. My question though, Madam President, is the retirement debt obligation. I think that's important for us to have a more broader discussion. I think there is a huge benefit in paying off that debt in the long run. So having that type of discussion, maybe that's something in the future. Maybe we have some type of a quick presentation on that debt obligation and the importance of paying it down and the benefit to the actual district. So it's one of those things that's kind of in the back and a lot of political subdivisions don't really focus on. I know we focus on it a lot at the county. I know the city definitely focuses a lot on their end as well. But I think it's important for us to have that discussion. Thank you, Madam President.
President, also members of the board, I actually think it's a great idea in the future, even just to provide a brief overview of what the liability was, where we're at, and now the pay. It's actually a huge benefit to taxpayers and allows us to redirect money where it should go, back into the classroom, back into wraparound services.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you. The next item is 7A, presentation and update of the Phoenix Union redistricting process.
Okay, President Alston and members of the board, we every month until we're done with redistricting, we'll bring to you a presentation. Sometimes it's brief, done by Eileen and our team, but today, although we'll start with Ms. Fernandez, our general counsel, we do have MGT, our partner in redistricting, that will provide a presentation. And with that, I will turn over to our general counsel, Ms. Fernandez.
Good evening, President Alston, board members, and the community. I just wanted to provide a quick update on the stipulation that we're seeking in the desegregation case. Wanted to give you some good news. We've obtained the agreement and signature on the stipulation from all parties that are necessary, and we will be filing that stipulation this week. The reason there is a slight delay in filing it is that the case is so old, it wasn't integrated into the electronic system of the clerk yet. So we had to call the clerk's office to get that integrated into their system, and it will be done this week. That's all I have as far as the presentation on the desegregation, and I'm going to turn it over to our consultants, MGT, that are going to be presenting on what we are doing on the redistricting front.
Good evening, Good evening, President Alston, board members, community. It's an honor to be here. My name is Rob Tanner. I am the director of the Education Solutions Group for NGT Consulting. And I have my partner, Fernando Perez, Mr. Perez here as well.
Mr. Perez, we're glad you made it. We understand you had some problems with the airlines.
Yes, thank you. Glad to be here. Finally.
Welcome to Arizona.
Thank you.
Yes, we both our arms got tired coming in for sure. NGT has been around for about 47 years. It was established by educational experts and professionals to help other educational experts and professionals. We are very proud of the fact that over those years that of our impact to students and communities. And we always like to showcase, our projects and our work has had direct impact for 50 million students across the country and the globe. We've had over 14,000 projects, and many of our associates, including myself, are previous school administrators. So we're superintendents, we're directors of operation, food services, transportation, principals, you name it, we have on staff. And so not only are we consulting, but we have sat in the chair and done the work, and we have that unique vision of what it's like to do the work every day. So as you know, just a little background, as you know, in 1990, Phoenix Union School District entered into a consent decree establishing the 5 ward representatives and the 2 at-large wards. And as part of that, every 10 years, the boundaries are modified with the new census data. And the goal behind that is to balance the population through the shifts from the last 10 years. So a little bit of that process, again, I said the goal was to balance that population between those 5 wards. The population of, what we try to do is get excuse me. We try to look at find out what the population is now with the new census data, and the new census data is in, and so we are working on that right now. And I will share a little bit later some of the preliminary data that we have built out from that. There also, as part of this, is 2 rounds of community engagement. The first one is informative, so it's more about the process, and that's what we were here this week doing. We have already started. We've completed 4 of the 5. We have 1 more tomorrow, and I would like to say that, I would, shameless plug, but I want to encourage people that haven't participated either online or in person to come out and come out to the academies at South Mountain, to the library tomorrow at 5 o'clock and hear our presentation. So with that, I wanted to just kind of give you a visual of what the current ward maps look like. I know you're aware of those, but as we start to talk about the data, the preliminary data, the census gives us information for the district as whole. And so we know what the population as a whole, what the demographic breakdown is as a whole, but what they don't do is they don't give us the information ward by ward. So we have to build that, data. And so we've started to do that. And I wanted to kind of talk just really quickly about how we build that and why I say that this data is preliminary. And so it's not concrete yet. We're just going to start when we get done with being here this week. We're going to go back and start to build that out and then to build the alternatives for modifying. But if you look at the slide there, the first one is a census tract. So the census gives information in 3 different subgroups. So the first largest one is a census tract. And so they'll give the data for the population for each census tract. What you see there is a zoomed in piece of the northern part of the Phoenix School District. It's actually the part where Ward 5 and Ward 4 merge right at the edge of the school district. And you'll see that those lines for both the school district and for the wards don't fall on the census lines, meaning they split those census. So we get the population for the whole census tract, and when it splits, then we don't know what that split is. So then the census data comes out in groups. It's the second image there. And so each tract is broken into groups. And then, as you can see as well, many times those lines or boundaries and district lines are not run along those group boundaries as well. So again, we know what the population is in the group, but we don't know what the split is. And so the third one is the smallest grouping that the census gives to us, and those are blocks. And so we have to go around and like a Lego set, build block by block what each ward is, and then add that information together to build the numbers. And oftentimes, even then with that the smallest, that sometimes the lines don't go around those blocks, and so it takes further investigation and to figure out what that population is. And I just wanted to go through that kind of long explanation to explain why, when we talk about the ward or the district in general as a whole, those numbers aren't concrete. We got those from the Census Bureau. But as you look at the ward by ward numbers, those numbers are pretty close, but they're not going to be exact. They will fluctuate a little bit as we hone in on that over the next couple of weeks. So the first, there's all the slide or all the wards. You have to forgive me. My eyes won't let me see the slide that far away, so I'm going to use my cheater here. But as you can see, the population has increased over the last 10 years, about 11% change. So it's went from 652,590 to 722,707. And then you can see the different breakout of demographic groups that makes up that change. The largest percent change is in the non-Hispanic 2 or more races. And then the largest number as far as change is the Hispanic of any race. And so when we look at what the wards look like then and now, you see 2010, this was after the redistricting that happened in 2012, I think. So that's kind of what you want it to look like. You want it to be that nice little beach ball look. Or, I might be dating myself by saying the Trivia Pursuit pie on the game piece. And then you see what it looks like now in 2020. And it's not terrible. It is a little bit more out of line because population shifts, but it is within that 10% margin. But if you don't make those shifts now, then it's just going to get further and further out of balance, and you're going to have a harder time shifting it 10 years from now. Plus, 5 years from now, it may be out of that 10% compliance. So, bring it back to a balanced state will help you be in compliance until the next census. Oh, I think I went backwards. Sorry, excuse me. So just kind of looking at each ward, I won't spend a terrible amount of time on this. I know that you have this information, and again, these are preliminary, so it is subject a little bit to some minor change. It won't be large swings, but you can kind of see here in Ward 1, again, the largest increase is as far as percent of change is in the non-Hispanic 2 or more races. This Ward 1 is the majority is Hispanic. So I think that's important, especially as we look at the Voters' Rights Act, to acknowledge that is the case for Ward 1. So moving on to Ward 2. Again, the majority here is Hispanic. And again, the largest change or the largest percent of change is in that non-Hispanic 2 or more races. But I would also say that there's it looks like that there's a significant change also in the non-Hispanic white population as well. So moving on to 3. 3 is the majority non-Hispanic white. And I will say also that all the wards have had increase in population as well. Again, the non-Hispanic 2 or more races is the largest percent change. Moving on to Ward 4, it's majority Hispanic of any race. Although it looks like the Hispanic population did decline slightly there. Again, the non-Hispanic 2 or more races is the largest percent increase. And then Ward 5. Again, Hispanic of any race is the majority. And again, the non-Hispanic 2 or more races is the largest percent change. And we see that actually a lot across the country as well. The one thing that I would, point out that I just noticed was the, the non-Hispanic white communities or our population did decrease substantially. And so when we look at the demographic percentages as a whole, so not the change, it tells a little bit different story. So it's important to look at that as well. And you can see that although the Hispanic population had the largest number of increase overall at the school district, the overall or their percentage as a whole decreased. So in 2010, it was just about 60%, just under. And now in 2020, it's just under 57%. So almost a 2% drop as a percentage of the whole. And just like the, we noticed on each individual wards where we had the large percent change was in that 2 or more race category. You can see that 2 or more as a percentage of the whole increased quite a bit over. That's what, 6 times there, a little more than 6 times, almost 7 times. And so next steps. So as we said, we're finishing up that community information outreach meetings that this week. And then so the rest of this month, I forget that we're already, it's amazing that Halloween's gone and we're already in November, but the rest of November and December, we're going to be working on first building out the concrete numbers for the individual wards. And then with that information, we will start to look at alternatives for modifying to bring the wards into a balance or at least as much as possible. January, we were hoping to have that information to you. And then in February, having a second round of community meetings where we can share that information with the community to get their ideas on what alternatives are most important to them. And then coming back with you with that documentation or that feedback, as well as any slight changes that might have happened because of that in March and for your approval or adoption in April. And so considerations, when we look at considerations, obviously population is one of them, but we also want to look at voting age population. And then when we start thinking about building out alternatives, there's other things to consider. Minimal change. So one of the alternatives could be changing them the least possible amount just to get that balance correctly. And then I know there's been some discussion about school distribution, about distributing the high schools so that they're more evenly in wards across the school district. And then as we look at changing these or modifying these boundaries, we want to change them along precinct lines if we can. We don't want to split precincts. I will say that as I looked at the precincts, there are some split precincts already, so it may be that we can fix that as we go through in some cases. I know that some precincts are split just by the boundary of the district itself, so we can't fix that. And then the most important thing, especially when we look at the Voting Rights Act, is we cannot have a detrimental impact on a minority demographic or on this group. There's special stipulations that we have to follow as we go through this, if we want this to be approved and not be adjudicated later. And so, given that, some of the questions that we kind of just ask of you is, are there any other boundary alternatives that you would like to see? Is there anything out there that you would like us to look at or dive into deeper. What boundary alternatives are most important to you? Because we don't want to spend time on a boundary alternative if it's not something that you're interested in. And then I'd love to hear your reaction to that kind of the preliminary data or at least the whole district data, because that is concrete. And is there any specific data that you want provided before the alternatives? Is there anything that you're looking for from us that we can get to you in a reasonable amount of time? And then do you as we've done these community outreach meetings, it's not been very well attended. But I will say that, this is kind of boring, stuff. People come to see me when they want to fall asleep. Is there anything that you would like to see, or if you have any ideas on how we can kind of increase that participation as we move forward in February? And with that, I'll again thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and I'll take any questions that you might have.
Madam President?
Yes, Ms. Ross.
So one of the, thank you first of all for that presentation. And my feedback to your question about how to get more engagement, I only knew about it because I'm a board member and it was on my calendar. I didn't, and then Stanford, someone posted about it, but I didn't see a lot of marketing around it. So like maybe sending a text, and this is probably district, not you, I don't know, but sending a text or sending home something or an email or posting on social media. Because literally I only knew because it was on my calendar as a board member. And so marketing about the community events more, I think would be helpful. I can't guarantee that people will show up, but I'm hoping that we can get slightly better turnout if we can market a little better.
Dr. Gaston?
Yeah, no, board member, President Alston and Ms. Ross, our team's been meeting and will continue to meet about ways in which we can market better. To your point, whether that's phone, email, text, social media. So we'll certainly work on it. Would love to hear feedback tonight on that as well. And we want to do a much better job getting community out in February.
Mr. Prescott.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I represent Ward 2, so I'll be there tomorrow night. Nikita, to your point, I shared the district's post. So there was some outreach on social media. I want to give credit for that. I do think a couple things. One, you mentioned the considerations for the boundary lines. I think one other consideration in addition to the precinct lines should be the elementary school district lines. Our school district has 13 partner elementary school districts that all have their own lines. Sometimes their lines cross precinct lines. And so I would bet that most of the times where our lines don't line up with precinct lines, it's because of the elementary school district. So just something to keep in mind as we're going through the process. I think in terms of outreach, two things I'd recommend. One, I know this set of meetings is informational. I wonder if we could put a summary or a recording somewhere on the website or on YouTube so people could watch and get caught up, as it were. I think beyond that, it would also be worthwhile to touch base with some of our civic engagement groups. I know we partner with several groups for voter registration day and other participatory budgeting. There's also a lot of other community groups that don't necessarily work with youth, but are involved in issues of civic engagement. And so I think just making sure everybody knows that it's out there, I think will be worthwhile as we continue through the process.
Madam President.
Mr. Marquez.
Mr. Tanner, Mr. Perez, thanks you for flying in to conduct these community meetings and be with us tonight. I was looking at the RFP. I attended 3 out of the 4 redistricting hearings, so I've seen you guys a lot this week. So I see part of the responsibility falls on the district. It says, the district will assist with promoting redistricting meetings to the public and distributing materials. But then in our work products for MGT, it also says that you all will have a vibrant community engagement component. What did MGT do in terms of engaging the community to attend these events?
Sure, thank you. Well, I will say as far as this informational piece, we did rely on the district. We did partner with them. You know, we had multiple conversations about how we would get this out, about what the website would look like, social media, and I know some of those things were done, working with the district. Also, as we talked about at the RFP, and I think that it's definitely worth, I mean, it wasn't probably applied to this first round, but maybe definitely to the second round. Some of the things that we you know, kind of pitched when we did the RFP was using some of our survey type of software, so that, you know, when we have these kind of boundary alternatives, we can have those, you know, in-person community things, but we could also, you know, send out via text, via email surveys about, okay, here's that, and ask very specific questions about which boundary do you you know, appreciate the most, or rank order them, or something like that. And then the last thing to do, I know a lot of times when we do surveys or other virtual meetings, you know, of course, we did this with WebEx too. So that's one of the things that we do. Like, as we talked about this with the district, we wanted to have that virtual component, and we offered to do it on Teams or Microsoft Live. The district wanted to do it on WebEx because that's what you know, your constituents are used to use it for this board meeting, and so that's why we went with that virtual component as well. I think that the other piece, you know, listening to Mr. Prescott, that would be what my idea would be, to try to get a list of community and partners that we can reach out to you know, call and speak with, and encourage folks to get involved.
Yeah, I think Board Member Prescott is right. I think getting the civic engagement groups involved, and potentially, if you all are open to it, potentially subcontracting perhaps some of those groups to drive participation in person to these events in February. And then for Dr. Guestin, just curious to hear what did community outreach look like for this round of the 4 meetings that have already occurred?
President Alston, members of the board, and Board Member Marquez, we did our typical outreach in terms of the email, social media, dialer that we would do for a typical parent event across Phoenix Union. But certainly based on attendance, that wasn't enough for us. So that's why our comms team will continue to work with MGT to try to find better ways to get people to come out to talk about redistricting. Obviously, it's been challenging this week.
I'll just add one more suggestion on top of, you know, communicating with parents, which is certainly a key constituency. I think folks that are probably more likely to show up at a redistricting hearing around school districts are probably looking at, you know, most likely voter universes, folks that perhaps supported the bonds and overrides, voted in those types of local elections. So if we do have a way to communicate with a broader stakeholder group that includes the voters and not just the parents within these wards.
Ms. Pastor?
So I would echo that comment, because those that are most engaged in redistricting are those that are politically involved. I would look at those that participate, since it's a smaller group, participate in city elections or county elections, because those are the niche groups that follow the local politics, or look at and studying the data on the overrides and bond election, because usually they're your city voters. And once finding that, then I would start sending out a small mailer. It doesn't have to be a large, because it doesn't have to cost that much. A mailer saying, save the date for these following things, and then maybe another mailer out over, I think it was over COVID and Valentine's Day. I got a bright idea that I was going to send out to those that voted the most in city elections to 3,000 people. No, actually, it was bigger than that. It cost me $3,000. But it was a bigger population and send out like a Valentine's Day, like spread the love, even though we're in COVID. And I was actually kind of surprised by the response that I got back from people saying, we really appreciate that. So I was just testing it, but it works. And so I would do something like that and then maybe target those on the text message, target that specific audience or geofence them and target the texting. I didn't receive a call, and during COVID, during that whole time, I received like 20 million calls. Like every constant, I was always getting I know the number now, but I didn't receive a call on this one, and they usually call my cell phone number, and so I don't know if it was just home numbers or if we target cell phone numbers also. And did you guys send out a mailer?
Yeah, President Alston and Councilwoman Pastor, it sounds like Ms. Ross had a similar experience. I'm trying to reflect in my mind what landed in my inbox as well as Phoenix Union parent.
Yes.
But we'll review all that and find out, was it a different, exactly what we did. And because yeah, if you and Ms. Ross had a similar experience, sounds like you did in terms of notification.
Well, I would recommend whatever you did during COVID.
Yeah.
Just use that model because it was constant.
It was good.
Which was good.
As a parent,
because
it was
I was
constant.
aware.
It was.
Mr. Gallardo.
Thank you, Madam President, and I agree with everything that's been said in terms of public outreach. I'm very involved right now with the congressional and legislative lines, and participation is sometimes difficult from our communities, and people are busy, I get it, but we need to do everything we can to try to get them engaged. So I'm with that. I want to go back into your process. So the variance, very supportive of 10%. But I would like, as we move through the process and as maps are being developed, to see a couple of different variants, the 10% down to 5%, and just see what it looks like. I don't know, looking at the growth and the census data. I mean, let's say if we went to a 9% variance, would we have to change anything? Could we? We wouldn't. We can just leave the lines as
Just
is?
initially, and I don't want to.
Hypothetically,
Hypothetically, from my niche, from this preliminary thing, like I said, until we get the concrete numbers, I don't want to, say yes, but it looks like you're within that 10% variance, already. And, that 10% number is not something that we just came up with.
Yeah.
That is, a legal Supreme Court set type number that it can't be more than that. So obviously better than that is better.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
I
couldn't
mean,
agree
we
more.
wanted to get it as close as possible.
But I'd like to see variations. If we are actually going to present draft maps to the public to look at, to see different variations on the variance, because I think that's real important. I'm supportive of I shouldn't say that. I support anything, but like to see variations. Going back to the different wards, the census numbers, not surprised, nothing too shocking. I think we've all kind of came to the conclusion that Ward 1 would probably have the most growth. I serve on the County Board of Supervisors. I see the new housing development and the new areas in which are popping around, and the Levine South Central Phoenix, I guess you can call it, has been an area that has been popping. So not surprised there. The one area that I am a little shocked is Mr. Prescott's district, his ward. Well, not really shocked, I shouldn't say. I think we anticipated the change of demographics in that district. That has, the South Phoenix area has always been kind of seen as historically as a large Hispanic and African-American population. The fact that the African-American population has come down some and the Hispanic population has come down quite a bit as well, but non-Hispanic whites have increased, which is fine. I mean, I think everyone sees the change of demographics out there as well. But when we look at wards like this, and I see that you're looking at voting age population, I would, again, like to see not only voting age, but citizen voting age population as a step back. Look at the census number, voting age, and let's go all the way back to citizen voting age population because of the demographics numbers and see how it changes. But in terms of, what was the other thing I marked down here? In terms of specific geographical boundaries, I think as Mr. Prescott pointed out, the elementary school districts would be one to take in consideration. I think even from our outreach side, our elementary students are going to be Phoenix Union students, and let's continue to engage those parents in that particular perspective and hopefully get them included. But I think that's one area. One of the things I'd kick myself as a county supervisor, precinct splits. I know we look at census blocks and all that stuff, but trying to kind of configure it within the precincts that we adopted. We know we're going to have to go back, and right after the IRC comes up with the congressional legislative map, we're going to have to adjust some of our precincts. But we like to keep in line. I think the less splits, the better. It doesn't confuse voters. One thing that I try my best is not to confuse voters. We got to do what we can to make it very understandable. We all get it because we're in the weeds of it. But I think voters just need a little bit more attention. And I think when we're dealing with just the logistics of conducting an election, precinct splits is something that should be taken into consideration too. I don't know, are you guys looking at precincts and how that? Okay.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we suggested from the get-go is try to make any modifications based on whole precincts instead of, trying to split, adding a census block here, a census block there that doesn't match a precinct, because we couldn't agree more. We want to make it more easy for individuals to vote, but also easier on, local governments when you're looking at, splitting a precinct over, between wards. You're gonna have different ballots, different, it becomes cumbersome.
Very good. Great presentation. I look forward to seeing your guys' work. It's not a easy task. I get it. Been there, done it, and I appreciate you all being part of our team here and helping us out through this process.
I think Ms. Ross has a question.
I already have my question. Thank you.
Okay.
I have
Ms.
one more.
Pastor?
I know that we look at the population and the demographics and piece. Do we look at the voting pattern?
Don't typically look at the voting
Okay.
pattern. No, it's more about population and voting age population.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that is because some districts then are stacked. I would say some of our cities districts have been stacked by the population, age, and everything. But if you look at the voting pattern, some districts do not have the voting pattern to turn out, and so that's why I'm asking that question.
I mean, it's definitely worthwhile, to at least, be part of the analysis for sure.
Now that you brought it, I mean, I wouldn't think it happened in Phoenix Union, but the voting polarization, particularly in the District 2 area, I don't know if that's something that I don't think we should be alarmed, but just with the change of demographics, it doesn't hurt. Take a step back and look at voting polarization.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you very, very much. This is all very fascinating and interesting, and we look forward to your additional information and presentations. Thank you, and welcome, Mr. Perez. Glad you got here.
Again, thank you. It was an honor to be here with you.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
The next item is item 7B, a Phoenix Union Native American Education Program update. Dr. Gustin and ladies, thank you for your patience in waiting so long.
President Alston and members of the board, tonight we bring to you an update on Phoenix Union's Native American Education Program. Tonight, you will hear from two of our amazing leaders here in Phoenix Union, Ms. Karen Cardenas, who is our Director for Student Learning, and Ms. Leanne Yazi, who is just done a remarkable job leading here in PXU. And so I will turn it over to Ms. Cardenas, and I think we can turn to the next slide. Make sure we're ready to go. I think we went forward too much. So Ms. Karen Cardenas and Ms. Leanne Yazi. Ms. Cardenas.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Guestin, and community members. I'm Karen Cardenas, Director of Student Learning. It's an honor to be here with you today to celebrate Native American Heritage Month and to share an overview and updates from PXU's Native American Education Program, also known as NAEP. Let me introduce you to Ms. Leanne Yazi, PXU's Native American Specialist and Chair for Superintendent Hoffman Indian Education Advisory Council.
Yate, Shailan Yazi Yanisha, to a headline in Shnado, my desk is Nibashichi, Katness, I think the Shay dog, he ani additional. Put out astonishingly. Good evening, President Alston, board members, Dr. Guestin, and community members. I would just like to take this time to acknowledge the ancestral lands of the Okmel-Otham and the Pipash peoples, on which all Phoenix Union schools reside. Thank you.
Let me start by telling you what makes NAEP so special. It's our staff. Our Native American advisors that you see here on the slide carry many roles, from academic advisor to cultural event planner. They are trusted individuals that support our families by staying in constant communication with parents. They do home visits, and they advocate for our students on campus and work with agencies. In this slide, you will see that PXU has a diverse group of advisors. They represent multiple tribes across Arizona. Please note the number next to them represents their caseload of students that they support and the campuses that they work at. Some interesting facts about our advisors. Ms. Jenkins is a Carl Hayden graduate, and Ms. Blackwater was the first PXU Indian Betty Fairfax. She is now an advisor through a partnership MOU with Gila River.
Can I ask, Madam Chair, I have a question.
Oh,
I have a
Ms.
question.
Pastor.
There were more advisors. There were more positions and advisors that served the community. And if I count it correctly, I think there are 5.
So 4 of them are Phoenix Union employees, and one of them is a Gila River Tribal Education Department employee who works in our schools, thanks to an MOU that we have with them. So to my knowledge, this is just my 3rd year, but yes, my advisors have told me that at one point, I think they had somewhere between 8 to 10 advisors.
Correct. And I worked with many of them. And so I guess my question, and it's not, you can give me the answer later, but my question is, what happened to that funding and why weren't those positions filled?
Great question. That predates my time, so I'm not sure who would answer that.
You won't have the answer tonight, so I'll wait for it.
Thank you.
We're happy to give a report back to Councilwoman. We'll send it to the whole board.
Thank you. There are 574 federally recognized tribes in the country, 22 of them in Arizona. In Phoenix Union, we do have approximately 1,300 students, 40 staff members who represent over 50 different tribes. And each of these tribes are listed in the graphic on the right-hand side. Tribes with the largest representation include the Navajo Nation, Gila River Indian Community, the Donna-Otham Nation, the Hopi Tribe, and the Pasquayaki Tribe. Now I would just like to share a little bit about the students that we all serve. You'll see on the screen a distribution of Native American students throughout the district. A majority of our students attend 4 comprehensive schools, which serve 150 to 220 Native students per campus. Within the medium category, you'll see 6 additional comprehensive campuses represented. As enrollment in PXU Digital increased overall, so did our Native student population in that school. As is to be expected, our small schools serve a smaller number of students, but note that the least number of students on any campus is 4. The importance of supports and services that our program provides for students, staff, and families is key, especially considering the immense impact that COVID has had on Native peoples. Unfortunately, this includes the loss of one of our own Native American advisors, Ms. Lorraine Dossala. She's greatly missed, but we are fortunate that her legacy is carried on by her family, who still share traditional songs and stories at our events. As a program, we partner and collaborate with various entities to provide necessary resources and opportunities. Our parent committees provide feedback and approval of our program budgets, which include Title VI and Johnson O'Malley funding, as well as M&O funding that we do receive from the district. We partner with Maricopa County Community Colleges to provide the Hoop of Learning program, which allows students access to college courses while still in high school. We connect with tribal communities through meaningful consultations, provide input on Arizona's Office of Indian Education Strategic Plan at the state level, and leverage the resources of our many community partners. Phoenix Indian Center, Native Health, and the Heard Museum provide group mentoring, workforce development training, college and career planning, and Indigenous education classes. I'm trying to get it back. Okay, there we go. It keeps. That's not the right slide. It's the other slide. Sorry about that. Phoenix Indian Center, Native Health, and the Heard Museum provide group mentoring, workforce development training, college and career planning, and Indigenous education classes. Of course, we certainly could not do what we do without our in-district support system, inclusive of teaching and learning, finance, student and family services, marketing, and technology, just to name a few. Thanks to these departments, we are able to pay class fees, provide hotspots, increase visibility, gather data, and refer students and families in need of assistance. Thanks to our partnerships and collaborations, our students have attended college and career events at ASU and NAU. They have participated in youth leadership development opportunities at United National Indian Tribal Youth Conferences, where they provided cultural presentations for over 500 students and youth from across the country. And they've also worked on developing community service projects to implement on their campuses. The Fairfax Youth Council provided traditional songs and dances during lunchtime, and the Cesar Chavez Youth Council raised awareness of missing and murdered Indigenous women and children. A group of students and staff recently attended the American Indian Science and Engineering Society STEM Day and College and Career Fair, where some of our Phoenix Coding Academy students were able to talk to Aaron Yazzie, who's currently works for NASA and helped to build some of the parts on the Mars rover Perseverance. As natives, we love community gatherings, especially ones that involve food. So prior to COVID, the holiday celebration hosted by the Alhambra Youth Council was our most highly attended event. Drive-in movies and outdoor resource fairs became the safe alternative for family gatherings during COVID.
Over the summer, NAEP worked with curriculum teams to assist in the development of culturally relevant courses. Thanks to your support, PXU now offers Navajo Government, English 7-8 from the perspective of the Native American, and Diné language. For the 22-23 school year, we plan to offer a 4th year of Diné language, making us the first district in the state to offer 4 years of an Indigenous language, and we are very, very proud of that. Another element to our summer work was a variety of cultural workshops offered by a collaborative of Indigenous professionals, in which students explored their identity through art such as photography, storytelling, filmmaking, podcasting, while making connections to future careers in multiple media outlets. To close out the presentation, we would like to share NAEP's goals and next steps. Our biggest goal is to increase student participation across all schools and also in specialty programs and academic-based programs. Get your calendars ready. As you saw, all those events that we have throughout the year, we will definitely be sending you invites throughout this year so you can join us throughout the year in these special events. At the beginning of the year, Ms. Yazi did a land acknowledgement. It would be great for our district to consider having an official PXU land acknowledgement, and we are happy to support with the research and the process. In our efforts to continue to focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion, we would like, as a district, to be more intentional about recruitment and retention of Native American staff in classified, certified, and administration areas. As the enrollment continues to grow in PXU, so do our special populations. Therefore, through our partnership with Gila River, we will get an additional advisor at Betty Fairfax in the near future. In long term, it would be great to consider an expansion of the program for further support of our Native American students.
Ms. Pastor?
I really want to commend you for your work because 4 years ago, I worked as an outreach director and understand the struggles that went on in Phoenix Union. And Beatrice, bless her heart, advocated along with all the other advisors for Danae to continue at the schools, and there was a push-pull-me that went on. And so I am very proud to hear that it is still in and surviving, and that you're adding the 4th year, because there was a push-pull-me. And she did have a difficult, feisty, but very passionate heart of what she knew was right for her community. And so I'm glad. The Phoenix Land Acknowledgement Adoption, that is going through the community colleges right now. And so I think they're doing a lot of the research because every school, I know pieces of it. Every school has the option to do the Phoenix Land Acknowledgement Adoption. Phoenix College is in the process of doing that. And so you may want to reach out to the district to ask how they're going about doing it and join efforts possibly in doing that. One of the discussions within the community college and within our circles is not only just the Phoenix Land Acknowledgement. What we're afraid of is that it'll stop at that point. And so I would be curious or would like to see possibly what other efforts the department and the community would like to see within Phoenix Union. And how to not just the land acknowledgement, but to continue to acknowledge the native land that we sit on at this moment, and how we continue to acknowledge it. And really appreciate the effort and all the work that has been done in this space, because it is needed, it is time, and appreciate the fact that it's happening. So thank you.
Madam President?
Yes. Ms. Parra? Or was that Nikita?
I do have one, but
Oh,
you can,
sorry.
you can call on Nikita. Go ahead.
Ms. Ross, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem. So first of all, thank you very much for the report. It gave me all the feels, all the good feels. Like I felt really proud to hear this. I learned a lot. Like I didn't even know. 2 of the schools that you mentioned are in my ward, and I didn't even know that we had the highest number of Native students. So it was really informative, and so I'm so excited to learn that. I love that things are going on. It makes me proud of the district, and I know we still have more work to do. People mistakenly think that critical race theory is only about teaching about African American history. Let me clarify, accurate history of America from the African American lens. And it's not, it's teaching accurate history of America. Meaning, like Laura said, let's talk about how Arizona was Mexico. Let's talk about how this is native land. Let's talk about how we are on this sacred, basically stolen land. And that stuff is really important. And so I love that our students are, and that this is the 4th year for the language, and I'm loving that. Like, I'm loving that we are engaging our native students, because so often our native students, because their populations are smaller, and we all know why, they get overlooked. And so I'm so happy to hear that we are focusing on this population, our indigenous, our native, our people who were here first. It shouldn't even be a discussion that we're focusing on them. It should be automatic, because this is their land, their home. And so it should be automatic. They should actually be teaching us, like, hey, welcome to our land. This is what you need to know. But I said all that to say I'm really happy. I have all the feels. Thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for that report. Thank you for educating me. And please keep up the good work, and let us as board members know how we can support you. Thank you.
Ms. Parra.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Hi, Ms. Yazzie. It's so good to see you. I just had a question. So the caseloads for the Native American advisors look really high to me. What would be your recommendation for a more manageable caseload, and in order to meet the needs of our students and really support them? What would be an ideal caseload for our advisors?
So I'll just start by saying Gila River, their maximum their maximum number or ratio is 50 to 1. And so right now, as you can see, we have their advisor at 150 to 1, and they're not liking that very much. So they are offering to send another advisor to our district, knowing now what their numbers are. And so ideally, honestly, and because we have some advisors who are on 5 different campuses, that means they're on a different campus every day of the week.
Sure.
So ideally, I'd say, 100 students, maybe even 150 students, but, even cutting their caseloads in half. And I don't want to say caseloads, but, students that they work with. I just know that we definitely could serve them a lot more efficiently. There's so many more things that we would love to do. But when our kids need us, when our families and our parents need the advisors, they're there for them. And so it would be helpful for them to not have to go to so many campuses in a week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Yazzie. And Madam Chair, I'd love for us to really consider, this investing more in supporting this program and in getting more advisors. So would love to explore what that looks like and what a multi-year strategy could look like for Phoenix Union to get back to increasing the number of Native American advisors. But thank you for everything you're doing for us.
Mr. Gallardo.
Thank you, Madam President, and great presentation. Always excited to see the great work being done here in Phoenix Union. I'm always very supportive of our tribal nations, and I think as a district, I can tell you, even as a county supervisor, I have 3 tribes in my district. Pascua-Yaqui, I have the T.O. Nation, and Gila River, the big one. Great communities. We work real closely together, partner up, how we can help on various projects, from transportation to environmental. I mean, we do it all. So it's always great. And I think whatever we can do from a district side to work, I mean, you have great tribal, Dr. Norris, Ned Norris. Have you ever had a chance to hear him speak, guys? He's the person to hear speak in public. I mean, he is just an awesome communicator. Stephen Lewis, again, President Lewis is great to work with as well. So we get some great leaders, and whatever we can do from a district to help some of our Phoenix urban kids that come from various tribes into our community, to our schools, whatever we can do, I think it's great. And continue to just partner up. I think whatever we can do, we should be having these sit-down discussions with some of these tribal leaders, and what can we do, particularly out in Nikita's district, Ward 1 with Gila River. I mean, so many students. I mean, I coach baseball, and we work with the Gila River youth out there, because they have baseball teams, and we play against each other and stuff like that. Just a great community. So whatever we can do to partner up on various issues, let's do it. Very proud. Thank you.
Ms. Pastor?
Well, I think Stanford, then I'll.
Okay. Stanford?
Thank you, Senator Alston. Thank you, Councilwoman Pastor. I just want to echo what everyone else said. Thank you for the presentation. I was really excited to see this on the agenda because I don't think we've covered this topic in a few years, so I appreciate it. I do want to echo what others said, which is that I would definitely be interested in land acknowledgement and what we could do with that. When I was drafting the Indigenous Peoples Day resolution a few years back, I know I did some research on it, and personally, I found a lot of conflicting sources, and so that was one thing that I encountered when doing that research. And so I would love to clear that up and move forward. And if we can incorporate the research that's already being done at the community college level, I think that's really smart. I know we've also talked about the number of staff working on the program. I'd also love to learn what other steps we can take as a board, we can take as a district from a policy angle to help support our Native American students. Thank you.
Ms. Pastor?
I probably will get this wrong, but I think we could look into the intertribal community council. Yeah, I was like, what is the C? Council, because they all meet together. And so there are probably avenues or ways to speak with the whole group and work to see if some of the different tribes will then contribute to the advisor piece. Pasquayaki and even the Tohono O'odham have councils that give, educational councils that give. And so I feel like we should probably start looking at the educational councils in the areas that are areas that they give out grants, so that then you can build the Urban Native American Advisory Council, or however you want to call it, but they are urban, and also continue to keep the traditions as they move through an urban environment or journey. So.
Just real quickly, I think, Dr. G, I think it'd be nice sometime in the future to be able to have a roundtable lunch with some of the tribal leaders and just open that dialogue. What are the challenges that many of the students may be facing, and how can we address it as a district? We had the discussion earlier. I think it was Stephanie brought up the challenges, the economic and social challenges these kids face every day. And we have kids that may live in Central Phoenix, maybe some in Nikitas may be driving from Gila River into Phoenix, to go to Betty Fairfax and Cesar Chavez High School. But what are those challenges, and how can we start opening up that line of communication? I mean, I don't know. Laura brought up a good point. The gaming 12%. I mean, is that something that we can apply for and work with? If we can identify certain projects, that might be something. Maybe we partner up 50-50. That's always good. There's so much we can do, but just starting that dialogue, I would be very supportive of having just a roundtable lunch with some of the tribal leaders, and just, I think they would welcome, I know for a fact they would welcome Dr. Norris, President Lewis, they would welcome that type of discussions.
Sorry. It's just, it triggers. I think it's very important to develop the relationship before we even start to go in to ask for money. Ms. Yazzie, you'll know where I'm going to. And it's all about relationships. It's all about integrity. It's about trust and honesty before we can go in and start to move on. The relationships of you have money and I can I apply or whatever. But no, they are, and I don't know the deadline date. I'll go back, just text me and remind me. But the city of Phoenix administers that piece. So you have to apply through the city of Phoenix.
Madam President.
And the county?
Madam President, Councilwoman Pastor. As part of our Native American, part of our program, as you know, we collaborate with our tribal leaders and tribes through consultations, so tribal consultations. So every year as part of JOM, part of Title VI, we partake in, at a minimum, annual meetings with our tribes of, especially of the students that attend our district. And through those, I have to say that Ms. Yazzie has started and continued to build some very strong relationships in terms of, sharing what we're doing, asking for their needs. And right before the pandemic, we were actually going to have Navajo Nation come and conduct their consultations, and they were going to be hosted here at Phoenix Union. Unfortunately, things shut down, and we're hoping to continue and actually do that this coming year, or when the tribe is ready to come here. They're welcome here. And so yes, we've been for a few years now, and Ms. Yazzie has done a fabulous job of being in constant communication with them. So we will definitely continue those relationships. The feedback that we're receiving here in terms of having additional conversations, those roundtables, the grants, something we're definitely taking note, and we'll take a lead. So I don't know if you will have anything else to add to that.
President Alston, board members, thank you for all of your comments and especially for your support. I know that any time that I am at any state, even national events, I sing many praises for our district. I'm new to the district. I'm just now starting my third year. And I admire the forward thinking, and the push for equity is huge. And then a big thing for us is the visibility of our students and our families, our Native students and families. And so absolutely, I've actually had tribal leaders approach me and want to also work with our district and know what's happening. And so I do keep them, informed. I know President Nez of Navajo Nation, he wants to do some sort of a larger event where he actually brings the services from the nation here, because a lot of our families can't go home during the week when the offices are open, for example. But Intertribal Council of Arizona is what you were referring to, I believe. And absolutely, if we, want to set something up, I'm happy to do so. I do work with a couple of people there as well. Thank you.
Mr. Gallardo.
Thank you, Madam President. Do we know how many students, I'm trying to think geographically here. I do know Gila River. I would imagine Passamaquoddy as well have students that actually live on the reservation but travel into Phoenix to attend our school. I'd be curious. I would venture out to say we have quite a few, particularly from Gila River, that come into the Phoenix district footprint to come to school, and what challenges that those students just traveling to come to one of our schools, the challenges that they face, and what we can do to make it more easy.
So it's interesting that you bring that up. That's one of our biggest projects we're working on right now, in coordinating. Coordinating a meeting with tribal council members, the Gila River Tribal Education Department. We do have anywhere from about 80 to 100 students who come from Gila River. And so yes, there are those challenges, the biggest concern being safety, because if you've ever driven out on the Gila River Indian community, you'll know that there are no sidewalks, there are no lights on the sides of the roads. And so that is a huge concern. I've documented everything that my advisors tell me. Anytime I get a phone call from a parent, we're gathering all that information. And so we're going to do what we can to work with our transportation, our program, our leadership, but it also, takes that partnership with the community as well. So that's absolutely what we're working on right now. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. I really appreciate it. Dr. G.
Yeah, President Alston, we're just going to thank Ms. Cardenas and Ms. Yazzie again. And Ms. Cardenas alluded to it at the very beginning, but Ms. Yazzie, you can probably tell, is an amazing leader, and she's a state leader and is the chair of the state committee with Superintendent Hoffman. And so we have one of the best, if not the best, in the state leading our program. And I love hearing the board's support, and thank you for the work you're doing, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you. The next item is 10I, approval of the new job descriptions, social worker, SSP/Arizona ESSER program, and educator mentor adult learning coordinator, TOA. Dr. Justin.
President Olson, members of the board, this is, there are two job descriptions. One is a social worker job description that's paid for from the state level, and so it just requires its own separate job description. And then the second job description tonight is the one that was tabled from last month and is back on the agenda tonight. And as you heard from Dr. Coleman, teams worked well together and have reached consensus on the job description as it's presented tonight, and we recommend approval.
I make a motion.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Pastor.
Second.
Oh, I'm second, and then I have a discussion.
What?
I made a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Pastor and seconded by Mr. Marquez. Is there any discussion?
I do have a discussion.
Ms. Pastor.
Mr. Prescott, thank you for bringing this up, or April Coleman brought it up, and then we were able to have a dialogue. I'd like to thank all those at the table to coming to an agreement. I was actually kind of taken back by last month's dialogue and conversation. And if anybody knows me, achievement in academics is my #1 goal for Phoenix Union. And when a practitioner or those that are going to deliver academic and achievement pieces are not in line, that causes me to pause and want to understand why. So I did do that and found a gap in the process. And the gap that I found was an email was dropped the Friday before fall break saying pretty much we're in agreement. And then that following Monday, when everybody came back, there was an email dropped that morning saying it has been changed and we're not in agreement. But what happened in between the fall break and that point, from that Friday to Monday, was that there was no discussion because people were on fall break. Administrators were working, but there was no discussion. And that's where the communication broke down. And it was then dropped, it was added into the board docs, I want to say that Friday before the Monday email was dropped. So there was reaction by teachers that read the board docs, and then dynamics then became about and happened. In the discussion, what I never discovered or found out is from Friday to Monday, how that decision was made. Because a decision was made and was changed without any discussion. And so that's my question. And my question is, how did that decision get changed from Friday to Monday? And I'm asking it to Dr. G, because I don't know who to ask it to.
President Alston and Councilwoman Pastor, this agenda item runs through Ms. Andrade and Mr. Camp's queue and board docs. And so that it originates through one of them. I'm not sure the exact timeline of when it hits board docs. And so that answer wouldn't come from me, would come from them, but I'm not sure the exact timeline. I'm not sure if Ms. Andrade has any particular insights. And if we don't, then one answer is we could go back and look through the entire process just to unpack the timeline.
I'm just asking because I did ask Ms. Andrade, and she was on fall break during that time when it changed. So someone in the administrative changed it, and that's why I'm asking.
And I will just say, President Alston, Member Pastor, we did have several meetings, as you know, to try to collaborate and reach consensus on this job description. So there were a few versions out there. The last one I had seen was the 3 years, was the one that ultimately is on the agenda tonight. But again, I want to be clear that there were other versions that aligned with language, so there were a couple out there, and I think there was even some to look at possibly 2 years. Don't know that I've ever gotten writing, but I do think as a district we need to really clearly examine the process for a job description and the chain that it goes through, because there was a breakdown. So we will do better, and we will revisit that process in my division. Thank you.
Appreciate the answer, but I still didn't get the answer. And then the reason why I'm pushing is because there was a chain of command broken and a protocol broken. And what I mean by that, because I think protocols are important in systems. And what I'm meaning is on Friday, a letter was dropped to April Coleman and the team saying 3 years. But the Monday, or really before board docs, when board docs dropped, someone had to manually have changed that to the 1 year. And so doesn't need to be, I'm just saying there's a process broken. Someone changed it. Nobody knows who did it. But I'm hoping next time that an organization or association doesn't have to come up and say, we're in disagreement. I do think fall break caused a lot of all of this. And sometimes maybe we have to pause and say, because what we did is paused and now we're voting on it today. So I just think sometimes we're moving so quickly and so fast trying to get things onto, and I know this from the city side, to try to get things in the queue so that then we can vote, because then they're not going to be available till the following month. So I do hope protocol is looked at.
Anyone else? Okay. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
sorry, I just want to clarify that the motion was to approve. Okay, I just heard you say I move. I didn't hear you say I move to approve, and I just want to make it clear.
Well, I've been saying I move all
Yes,
night.
yes, but
I move to
for
approve.
this one in particular.
Move
Thank
to
you.
approve.
Thank you, Lynn. Ms. Adams. With that clarification, on the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. The next item is 13A, discussion and possible action to consider the Arizona School Boards Association's proposed bylaw change. Dr. Gaston.
President Alston, members of the board, we heard from ASBA recently that they are proposing a bylaw change that Phoenix Union has considered in the past, having to do with the Native American Hispanic Caucus. And so tonight is a discussion and consideration for you all on the ASBA bylaws.
Madam Chair.
Oh, yes, Ms. Farah.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members. That I know this is up for discussion, but ASBA has the Hispanic Native American Caucus currently on the board of directors gets one seat, both one representative from the Hispanic community, one representative from the Native American community, and every year they have to rotate representation currently. They've been trying to change the caucus is fully supportive of this change to increase the representation to 2 seats so that each community gets representation, full representation on the board of directors.
they need board, an overwhelming, I think it's, I'm not gonna remember the amount, but they need boards to adopt this change at a certain percentage. And last time not enough boards voted on the item. So the board of directors makeup at ASBA was not allowed to be changed. And so I would like to move that we support this change as it would increase representation on the ASBA board of directors. And appreciate you putting this on the agenda, Madam Chair.
I'll second that
Is there a
motion.
second, Mr. Prescott? A motion has been made by Ms. Parra and seconded by Mr. Prescott. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Prescott?
Thank you. I'll just add to what Stephanie said, which is the number is 2/3. That's for all their bylaw changes. ASBA's had many issues passing their bylaw changes for years. But I think that this is a fairly reasonable thing that we should support and continue to engage with them on.
Thank you. Any other further discussion? On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. And thank you, Ms. Adams, for that clarification. I really appreciate it. The next item is 13B, discussion of COVID spread and mitigation, including masking and vaccines with potential action. Dr. Geston.
President, also members of the board, this is our last major item of the night, although there's a couple of policies. This is our monthly discussion about spread of COVID, mitigation as well. So just going to share a couple of highlights. First of all, as you all know, Phoenix Union has done an amazing job navigating COVID, has built a lot of trust in the community that's resulted in an increase in enrollment. I think this is a slide that our team has been very proud of. This is our enrollment this year compared to the last several years, and you'll notice that we are up over 1,200 students, and that line seems flatter than it seemed in a long time, which means retention rates are better than usual as well. So a huge shout out to our team for their efforts in recruiting and retaining students. This is, as you know, in our nation, enrollment is down several percentage points. In our city, enrollment's down several percentage points, and yet we're up 4% this year in enrollment. Speaking of spread in our community, we serve 32 zip codes. Unfortunately, this is spread still. This graph probably goes without any words. We're still in a really tough time, especially with the Delta variant, which is why vaccines, masks, and mitigation strategies continue to play an important role. As you know, earlier this week, the Arizona courts had an opportunity to hear the court case brought forward by ASBA and others. And there was a very quick ruling in the favor of those of us who were supportive of strong mitigation strategies. Phoenix Union released an official statement. And among other things, schools are allowed now to continue with universal masking requirements, among other things that were thrown out in that particular lawsuit. Phoenix Union continues with our universal masking policy until we come around this table and decide otherwise, so that continues. We continue to do testing on all of our sites. A reminder that Phoenix Union on all 11 sites provides free testing, not just for our own staff and our students, but the community. So we strongly encourage our community to come by any of our large 11 schools every single day, Monday through Friday, for nearly 10 hours for free testing. You'll also notice that small schools, we have not abandoned them. We offer mobile support. So if a small school in PXU needs access to testing, then we'll actually send a mobile site to the school. We continue to provide vaccines as well on all of our sites 6 days a week. And we released a statement earlier this week, a press release that we are, even though we are high schools, we are still in the business of vaccines, even for 5 through 11. And so this weekend, Phoenix Union, in partnership with our partner districts, all 13, will be sending their students to sites. We will host 3 of the sites this weekend. Madison, Osborne, and Roosevelt will also host sites. So 6 large 5 through 11 vaccination events this weekend. It'll be the largest 511 vaccination event in the state of Arizona. That'll happen this Saturday. We strongly encourage you all to come. From a Phoenix Union perspective, Carl Hayden, Maryvale, as well as Academies of South Mountain will host our events this particular weekend. As you know, we've given out nearly 40,000 vaccines on our campuses since the start of school. We did release a video. We're trying to find ways to get to our community, make sure that our community knows that this is an important step to reducing spread. And we produced a video of our own students in multiple languages talking about why getting the vaccine was important to them, and want to share a video with you.
I got vaccinated because public health is a public good, just like education, and we're all in this together.
I got fully vaccinated for my grandma. Yo me vacuné para proteger a mi familia y mi comunidad.
شئ اوتسه دیشس زندگی تو چالچن دوشک لنگی با خانسن 고베네나.
저는 저를 보호하기 위해서 코비드 백신을 맞았어요. 여러분도 자신을 사랑하고 가족을 사랑한다면 꼭 백신을 맞으세요.
I'm vaccinated for my husband who has a low immune system, so I got vaccinated for his safety.
एक फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर होने के नाते ये मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बनती है कि मैं ना केवल अपना बल्कि अपने आसपास के सभी लोगों का इस कोविड की बीमारी के फैलने से बचाव कर पाऊं, इसीलिए मैं कोविड का वैक्सीन लगवाना चाहती हूँ. Thank you.
I got vaccinated to save my loved ones and friends and family because they mean a lot to me.
M-am vaccinat pentru siguranța mea, siguranța familiei mele, pentru siguranța studenților mei, a colegilor mei și a prietenilor mei. Și pentru că doresc să călătoresc liber.
Yo me vacuné para estar bien para mi familia.
I got vaccinated to ensure the health and safety of my family, our staff, our students, and our community.
Bonjour, je suis vacciné pour protéger mes étudiants, ma famille et mes amis. Au revoir et bonne santé.
I got vaccinated to protect those who can't, like my little sister.
Yo me vacuné porque mi familia necesita la salud.
I got vaccinated to keep my family safe because family means a lot to me.
I'm vaccinated because I matter, you matter, and our community matters.
Great. Just want to share that video as we heard about our the number of tribal communities we represent, the number of languages across Phoenix Union, nearly 100. We're going to continue to work on videos. I want to thank Mr. Franco and our marketing communications team. They do a remarkable job with outreach, and I know that we're going to also work on a video with youngsters, 5 through 11-year-olds, to do our best to get the word out. All right, let's shift to vaccination totals. Phoenix Union launched Vax to the Max a few months ago with the board's support. We're now up to over 83% of our staff and counting. I've been asked by a couple of board members, do we know the breakdown of administration versus certified staff versus classified staff? As you can see, we break it down by school here. In Phoenix Union, over 93% of all administrators are vaccinated. That's 93. Of our certified staff, teachers, counselors, social workers, it's over 90, almost 91%. 93% of we have about 50 guest teachers that are constant. 93% of our guest teachers are vaccinated. And our lowest total at this point in time is our classified education support professionals at about 72%. And so we're going to continue to do all we can to push those numbers up. In fact, we think it's a worthwhile discussion today for the board to have around continuing to make sure that we drive that number as high as possible. In a second, I'll briefly allude to the OSHA requirement that is coming. Right now, we are at 83%. When Phoenix Union launched Vax to the Max, we had said that we would not give payout to our employees until we hit 85%. We've had a chance to meet with our association leadership and exec team and believe that Now that we've hit 83%, know that we will at some point hit 85. That we think that we should pay out the $200 incentive. So we are going to. Our recommendation tonight for the board is to approve a recommendation to pay out that the 200. We also think we should continue it, especially with the OSHA requirement coming. The more people that get vaccinated before that January 4th deadline, the better. And so not just continue to give out the incentive now, but continue to allow Vax to the Max incentive to continue is a recommendation. And then we also made a very public statement that we would have a school-to-school competition, the first school to 85%. And so in meeting with exec team and stakeholders, we also want to make a recommendation that the 2 schools who won the competition, that those eligible employees get an extra $50. And that, of course, anytime we give extra compensation, board must approve that. So official recommendation tonight in the least is that we extend Vax to the Max until we hit higher totals, pay out the 200 for now, while even though we're at 83, and approve the $50 per person for those 2 schools who are eligible. We're also continuing to push student vaccines. So many of you have asked what's the plan for student vaccinations. As you know, we've continued. We were going to stop a lot of our vaccination events in October, but we are continuing with vaccinations now through mid-December. So we will continue to give out vaccines on all 6 sites. We've added 41 new vaccination events, and those will take place over the next 2 months. As you know, we're launching the citywide pediatric vaccination events as well. We're doing boosters on all of our campuses for our broader community. Are continuing to work with Richard and other partners on really getting out to the community. What we found is the more marketing, the more videos, the more languages, even when we pay for commercials, that we get much better turnout. So we're going to continue to double down on our marketing and have been taking as many interviews as possible, our own staff, whether that's me or someone else, just to spread the word about vaccination events. Phoenix Union, we had a chance to do our first ever global interview. We interviewed with BBC News and did our first worldwide interview this past week. And then even just this week, we're contacted once again by the White House, asked what was new with Phoenix Union and that they want to play a role in promoting our event. And even we're very grateful for Lyft for the work that they are doing, and will continue to push student vaccinations. We also, as you know, launched extracurricular activities requirement. All athletes for winter sports, student athletes, and at this point, JROTC competition participants must be vaccinated or have weekly testing. Just started this week, so we don't have official numbers to share with you all. But Ms. Tarkington and Dr. Munoz and her team will send a report to me in the next couple of weeks of how winter sports vaccination, extracurricular activity vaccination requirement is going, and we'll share that information with you all. We know anecdotally, we've had many students who, as the season was about to begin, said, you know, now that I know that it's either testing or vaccine, I might as well get vaccinated. What we also know, though, too, as we've met with some of our students, is sometimes it's the parents standing in the way. So a lot of our students want to get vaccinated and their parents may not let them. And that's happening across the country. A lot of articles and research and data have been published that there are actually many 12 through 18-year-olds that want to get vaccinated and their families have not allowed them to. And so we're going to continue to navigate that with our extracurriculars. And then finally tonight, aside from recommending the continuation of Vax to the Max and the payment, is OSHA made their official announcement for what that means for Phoenix Union and for the state of Arizona. And so the report was released today. It's 400 pages, as governing board knows. We had an initial discussion. We don't necessarily know all of the details, but we will continue to work on this over the next couple of days and couple of weeks. But what we know to be true today is that when the OSHA report came out, which it came out today, that it was effective immediately. There's a 30-day and a 60-day kind of timeline for us to implement the requirement laid out by federal administration, which, as we all know and the public should know, is that that employees, Phoenix Union being one of those employers, must be fully vaccinated or test weekly. And that ultimate deadline and penalties incurred are January 4th. And so there's a 30-day deadline, a 60-day deadline. That 60-day deadline is January 4th, where Phoenix Union employees will have a choice, no choice, but to be vaccinated or submit to weekly testing. There's other details. Phoenix Union will work on a very public document that we'll share with all of our employees of exactly the highlights of what the OSHA plan lays out for us in terms of submitting evidence of vaccinations and what that means for close contacts and quarantining protocols, because some changes may be forthcoming as well. But for Phoenix Union and our employees, what it looks like from the OSHA plan is that our employees will have until January 4th to be fully vaccinated or submit to weekly testing. So for the governing board, I'll just open it up to you all. Again, aside from the recommendation on the table, any discussion, thoughts, or recommendations moving forward around mitigation strategies, including vaccines.
President Austin?
Yes, Ms. Roth.
Thank you. So a couple of things. One, I must admit that I'm a little hurt that none of my schools won the competition, but congratulations to the 2 schools that did win the Vax to Max competition. Good job on that. And then the second thing I wanted to say is I wanted to take this time to again, and we've done this before, but I want to acknowledge again the hard work and dedication of the exec team and Dr. G with making sure that we are trusted in the community when it comes to COVID, meaning that we are providing vaccines. I, as a governing board member, am not doing the hard work that it takes to coordinate the sites and working with our partner schools and working with communities and working with volunteers to make sure that we have everything we need to provide during our vaccine events. But exec team and staff and Dr. G and the team, they're doing that. And I want to acknowledge that you all work really, really hard, and we would not be, our enrollment would not be up the way it is, and our retention would not be stable the way it is if it were not for your hard work and making us a leader in this and making us a trusted institution in this. And so I want to acknowledge that, and I want to tell you all thank you. And I want you to know that I see you, and people in their right minds see you and respect the hard work that you're doing. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. Well noted. We appreciate it.
Mr. Prescott.
Thank you. Dr. Gesson, just to clarify, you mentioned that action was needed on the Vax to the Max, so we would need a motion to approve those payouts as well as to extend it?
Yes. And then the other thing that I forgot to note is that we have a medical benefits trust, as you all know, that's done well. Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and other large healthcare industries have offered to match, as you maybe have seen that across the country. And so we did ask our medical benefits trust to consider matching the $200. And if not the full 200, maybe a lesser amount. And so that would have to come before the board too. And so, as you know, our medical trust is a recommending body to this board. Senator Alston sits on that medical trust board. And so at their next meeting, they'll also consider matching this as well. So in the motion, which I can restate as well, we would also ask the board to adopt, if a match comes from the trust, to adopt that as well to give to our employees.
Would you like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the Vax to Max plan, including the additional payment, and approve any additional payments that may come from the trust.
Second.
Who was the second? Ms.
Give it to
Pastor?
Nikita.
Okay, a motion has been made by Mr. Prescott, a second by Ms. Pastor. Mr. Gallardo, is there any discussion?
Thank you, Madam President, and couldn't be more supportive of the action that we have on the table. Couldn't agree more what Nikita Ross has stated earlier as well. So at the county, they show us this heat map of all the school districts in Maricopa County. And you'd be, man, I should bring it so everyone can see it. But you see all the school districts in dark colors, and then you get to Phoenix Union, it's a very light color. Because of the outbreaks, we just don't have. We're not faced with what other school districts are having to deal with. And it just shows that we're doing the right thing. We're on the right path. We're doing the right thing in terms of encouraging our employees and our students and giving them the incentives, and we're doing everything we need to do. That video, very powerful, because you see these teachers and faculty folks and students talking about why they got their vaccination. It wasn't about them, it was about their family and their grandparents and their parents and everyone else. And that's what makes that so powerful. And the different languages, it was a beautiful video. Whoever did it, great job, kudos, very powerful. So I think we are on the right track. And this type of supplemental $50, I think it's just an added plus to really incentivize and get people so we can actually get to that 85 and higher. And I think it's a huge plus. The only question I have, and we can talk about this offline too, is I've always been under the belief that our community, everyone has different priorities. I get it. We all have so many things going on in their lives, and many of our families, maybe getting the vaccination isn't on that top of priority. Maybe there's other challenges and life issues they have to deal with. But when I hear that it's, in some cases, it's parents that are not allowing the students, I'd be really curious to know, what is it? Why is it that they're telling their students, or they're not their students, but their kids don't get it? What is it that concerns them? And I would maybe, I don't know if there's been any question here, but I'd be very curious to see, what is it? Is it just the information? Is it just, I know this has been politicized and all that stuff, but I'd be really curious to know from a general standpoint of what parents are really thinking and why they are encouraging their kids not to get them. So anyways, we can deal with that later, but very supportive, Madam Chair or Madam President, of the motion.
President Alston, I obviously don't have the exact answer to that, although I think it's worthwhile for us we could even, interview some of our kids or families and get a sense. I think what we do know are a couple of things. One, locally, the numbers are really low. So Phoenix Union, I didn't go over our actual student numbers, but we've have about 10,000 of our 28,000 students that have come forward for the Vax to the Max card. So we're about a third, maybe a little more than that. That feels low. The county right now, ages 12 through 14, is just above 3% for that age group, 3%. All 12 through 18 is at 12%. So we're triple the county average in Phoenix Union, which is a celebration. That's also really low when you think about it. And what the research says across the country, you can imagine all the surveys that have been done. So the one thing that we do know is that American parents are split into essentially thirds. A third of the families in America say, as soon as my kid can have access, I'm going to get it. A third are saying, "What? I'm going to get it, but I'm going to wait a month or two to see how those kids react." And then a third are saying, "I'm just going to wait a while, if ever, until I'm ready or until it's mandated." And so there's a ton of research. It's this third. Right away, I'm going to watch you, and then I'm going to wait a long time. But don't know exactly to your question, the why behind that. We're not sure.
Is there any further discussion? Ms. Parra, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just, to supervisor's comment, I think a lot of parents are, getting so much misinformation thrown at them, especially in our community. When we've heard from parents in the Spanish speaking community, they don't even know what to believe anymore, because they're on WhatsApp and they're getting all these memes and all these things thrown at them, and it's all, they just are so confused by all of the misinformation out there about all of this. So just a little anecdote there, but very supportive. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Pastor.
The question about the incentives, I misinterpreted. I thought the two schools were going to get something for their schools. Like when they competed, they were going to get like an improvement, something that I'm thinking like, I don't know what, the gym or something.
Yep.
So Am I wrong?
No, you're right. President Alston and Councilwoman Pastor. No, actually, schools will get both. So for these particular schools that were the first to 85, we're recommending that they get the extra $50. But those two schools that got 85, and actually every school and every site that is 85 or above is going to get
Oh, okay.
a school-wide prize. And actually, they'll work with Ms. Salaya. They're going to get a menu of options. So they might decide they want to work on their teacher's lounge, or they might want staff T-shirts for everybody. So they actually have a menu of options to choose from. Every site that's 85 and above.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know, because I did mention it in
Yes,
in
you
a
are
ci-
accurate.
in a city meeting, and I was like, oh, maybe I was
No,
wrong.
you're right.
I heard it wrong. So then what is being asked to do an additional 50 for each employee at that campus that meant 85.
Yeah,
So they'll
those
get
those
the-
two schools that won it to
Okay.
get extra 50. And it's to pay out the 200 now, even though we're not quite at 85%.
Okay.
And to continue so that we want to push that number. I know I've had a conversation with a couple of you, Board Member Marquez as well, around, especially if every employee has to get vaccinated or submit to weekly testing, the more that are vaccinated, the less testing we have to do. And so to continue to push this incentive as long as possible to try to drive that number down.
Yeah, because once we mandate it, there's no incentive.
Yes,
And
other,
that's-
other than to avoid weekly testing.
Right.
Yeah.
So once we get there, there won't be an incentive. And the reason why I'm asking these questions is because at the city, we are, our incentive program didn't work as well. And so we're looking at now revising the incentive program and our labor groups. When I said no, we had a competition between the schools, and then they asked me, what did they receive? And so I think that's where our mindsets are going to have the
Compete.
labor groups compete amongst each other and see what will work to get us to 85.
Humans are competitive. It certainly works. Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Marquez.
Yeah, just a follow-up on the motion as well. So if I understand correctly, is it that we are lowering the 85% goal down to 80% so that in December we can pay out the 83% that have already been vaccinated? But additionally, we're extending the Vax to the Max campaign to January 4th so that anybody else that gets vaccinated before January 4th in their January paycheck would get the $200 incentive at that point. Is that accurate?
President Alston, Board Member Marquez, it's mainly accurate. It may not. We do want to push it right until the requirement. Doesn't mean they'll get it in their January paycheck. Just from a payroll processing perspective, the big paycheck for these 83% will be on December 7th. And as we move forward, we'll pick a pay date or two just to make it more organized from a process perspective. But yes, push it to January 4th, and then the payment to come thereafter on a pay cycle is determined by talent and finance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, just real quickly, shout out to Maryville High School for being one of them here in District 5. Thought Trevor Brown would be there, but look at Amy. Amy didn't do her job in encouraging Trevor Brown, but nonetheless, congratulations, Maryville.
Yeah, and from a student perspective, although our numbers are right around 30 to 40%, Bioscience High School, they're the first staff. They're at 76% student. So Bioscience may hit 85% as a student body soon as well. So for what it's worth.
Okay. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you all. Good discussion. The next item is 13C, approval of revised governing board policy IHAMB, family life education on first reading. Is there a motion to approve the revised governing board policy on first reading, and is there a second?
Motion.
Ms. Pastor?
Para.
I mean Para. I beg your pardon.
It's late.
Okay, a motion has been made by Ms. Para and seconded by Ms. Pastor.
Yes, if we can just.
I motion
from
to
now-
approve.
Thank you, thank you, Ms. Barr.
Yes, I motion to approve.
Okay, is
Madam
there any discussion? Mr. Prescott?
Yeah, Dr. Geston, question for you on this one. This is a first reading, so I assume it's coming back for a second reading at a future board meeting. One thing I notice here in the policy is a lot of it adds the legal language that we talked about in the hearing, but it also strikes some of the language that we had added as a board back in 2015 and 2016. Is that legally necessary? Is there a way to include the new language as well as the language we previously worked on in 2015 and 2016?
President Alston and Clerk Prescott, I don't believe we're prohibited from keeping some of the old language, but I would say this, let us bring it back. There would be a second reading, and if we can revise it and add back in the originally adopted language, we will do so. If for some reason we're prohibited by law, we'll let you know what that is like, but we'll do that before the board meeting so that you know.
Right, great. Yeah, no, I would definitely want to do that. I know that was a big priority for board member Danley at that time and myself and many of our other folks here worked on that. So, yeah.
Ms.
Second?
Pastor?
No, did you need a
Okay,
second?
anyone else? No,
Okay,
I know.
so I second.
I know what it was. Is there any further discussion?
Well,
Okay, on the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
You abstain?
Yes.
Okay. Will the secretary note that board member Marquez has abstained?
I have a question.
President Alston.
The question was,
We're on the motion.
No.
People have voted in favor. No one voted opposed. And I asked for abstentions, and Mr. Marquez has abstained. I don't think that we can have any further discussion. Miss Adams?
I have a,
Is it a question about the, go ahead, we'll see.
it's a question about the motion because we had a discussion and I don't know, in the motion you have to add, to bring back or to add in these
This
elements.
is first reading.
Yeah, it's
It's
first
going
reading.
to
All right.
come back for a second read.
That's
Okay,
right.
that's
That's
where I'm
right.
getting
It
confused.
comes back automatically under your policy. So we're
Okay, that's where I'm getting confused. Yep. So
Okay.
that's why.
You okay?
No, not really, but okay.
Okay. Certainly, Mr. Prescott.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Alston. Thank you, everybody else. And I will just note that this is an ASBA policy advisory where we folded in the official ASBA language. And there's been a lot of times where we've gone above and beyond the ASBA
Yes.
language. And so I think just on these policies where the board has made a very intentional effort to change a policy, we should be mindful of changing those in case there are future policy advisories.
Excellent. President Alston, Clerk Prescott, well noted, absolutely. And we know which of those policies are this board's passionate about. And again, we'll bring back this agenda item as I stated.
The motion carries. The next item is 13D, approval of revised governing board policies GCF, professional staff hiring, and GCH, professional support staff orientation and training on first reading. Is there a motion to approve the revised governing board policies on first reading, and is there a second? Mr. Prescott.
So just as a point of discussion, this looks like this is a very similar issue. So in this particular one, it strikes protections for sexual orientation for our employees to match the ASBA language because ASBA does not protect for sexual orientation or gender identity, but we did add that in. So again, one of these, a lot of the procedural and legal changes make sense, but want to make sure we're keeping our protections for our employees.
Perfect.
We need a motion.
I will motion, since this is a first read, to approve.
On a motion?
I will motion to
to-
approve on first reading. And please.
Thank you.
I would
Is
be
there
happy
a
to second.
discussion? Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, a motion has been made by Ms. Para, seconded by Mr. Prescott. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, since I made the motion, just a quick comment. I am supportive of Member Prescott's being mindful that we do include the on second read, that we bring back the
Okay.
language on sexual orientation. Thank you.
Yeah, President Olson, just to put on record as well, we'll do the same thing for this. We'll go back, revise, and not bring back a copy of a policy until it aligns with the board's values.
Okay, great. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries. Oh, any abstentions? The motion carries. The next item is 13E, adoption of revised governing board policies BDGA, service of process and IC school year on second reading. Is there a motion to adopt the revised governing board policy? And is there a second?
I will motion, Madam Chair. Stephanie.
Ms. Parra,
I'll go ahead and second this one. This one doesn't seem to do anything too funny.
a motion to adopt has been made by Ms. Parra and seconded by Mr. Prescott. Is there any discussion? On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Item 14A. The next regular meeting of the governing board is scheduled for Thursday, December 2nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. Item 15A, Ms. Pastor, having concluded our business, is there a motion to adjourn and is there a second? Ms. Pastor.
I motion to
I'll
adjourn the
second.
regular
Prescott.
meeting.
A motion to adjourn has been made by Ms. Pastor and seconded by Mr. Prescott. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. There's no discussion. We are adjourned.
We're